Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Avocado Games Cast, gaming podcast of the Avocado. I'm Merve, and we've got a great podcast lined up for you today. We'll be talking about console cycles, and then we'll be talking about food and games. But first, let's meet the people who are joining me today. First up, he is taking the unusual step of making his own Suikoden fan game. It's PT.
You know, I actually have not gotten into the. I think the text adventure games were translated. I should probably look into that. But yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go. You can make your own text adventure game. Twine is out there. Next up, he's taking the unusual step of making his own Fire Emblem fan game. It's Lord Stoneheart.
Hello. It has no incest in it, I swear.
See, I can't tell if I'm disappointed or not. And finally, he's taking the unusual step of making his own Fallout fan game. It's TheKappa.
Hey, what's up? And it's going to be good. I'm telling you, it's just going to be you and the dog the whole time. Nothing else. Just wandering around, looking at empty spaces and the dog.
So it's
basically duress with the dog.
Yeah. It's like a Tamagotchi. Like, you got to keep the dog alive the whole time.
Tamagotchi Fallout?
Yeah.
I would love that. So, what have you guys been playing lately? Stoneheart, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing two games lately. And I've probably mentioned it on Avocado, but I've been playing and I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse.
The new one that just came out.
Yeah, the one that came out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, how's that going?
So I'm really liking the improvements over the So it's like the same engine. It's a side story to well, not a side story. It's like a branching off point of the one that came out a couple years ago. 4.
SMT4. Yeah.
Yes, SMT4, and there's a lot of small gameplay improvements. I think PT will be glad to hear about how they've made the map actually more readable. It's easier to travel about the overworld, and it's also like with the AI partners, they're not nearly as stupid as they were in 4. So that's always a nice.
Do you actually have full command over your AI partners like you do in, say, Persona 4, or does the AI just do its own thing?
So it does its own thing, but there's it won't do anything that's counterproductive to you. Whereas in 4 they would often fire off attacks at random, and it usually be repeatedly hitting the enemy's strong points, and then the enemy would get the enemy would get bonuses, and then you'd be destroyed because your AI partner's an idiot. But this time they managed to. They actually usually do do the right thing. So if you're getting low on health and the AI partner has a healing spell, they'll cast it. There's one exception where one of the characters uses other demons to heal you, and sometimes the demons won't listen to them, and it'll just attack the opponent. And it's one of those things where it makes sense for story reasons, because that AI partner is supposed to be inexperienced, but it's also frustrating for gameplay reasons.
Yeah. See, when I play a JRPG like that, a turn-based JRPG, I want that full control over my party, and I just get so irritated when party members do.
I agree. That would be really, especially when you're trying to set up. I don't know how. I've never played. I've heard a million things about the series, but I would just imagine if you're trying to set up, a specific combo or something, it'd get really frustrating really quick.
I did want to say though, the SMT4 thing was occasionally frustrating, as in such and such will cast an elemental spell, which will just have the enemy will absorb it and such. But I'm getting terrible flashbacks to Persona 3 actually, where Mitsuru or whoever she was, she'd cast magic charge on the first turn. She'd power, double her magic attack, and then she'd cast whatever the confused spell was. And like
Tantarafu?
Yeah, something like that. And like not
Why do I know
like
that?
and not Mabufu or something like, useful. It's like she didn't only do this once, she would do this constantly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god.
So boosting your magic, does that actually boost your chance of confusion, or is it just boosting magic damage?
I would assume magic damage, because I
Okay.
sure don't remember them actively being any easier.
But it's still a wasted turn. I mean, if you
Yeah.
boost your magic damage, then don't use magic damage. I would assume it's like a wasted turn, right?
Oh sure.
Right, but if it works to boost the chances of confusion, then it's not completely wasted. Say the attack only had a 30% chance, you up it to a 60. But I'm guessing it doesn't work that way. And I'm guessing
No.
that, yeah, from what I've heard, the Persona 3 AI is legendarily stupid. That's at least half the reason they gave you full party control in Persona 4 if you wanted it.
It's funny because like I think I played Fez right after 4, and I just after a while said, boy, I'm just not really in the mood to do dungeon crawling with terrible AI and the brand new fan service robot. It's just so I was like, I kind of dropped that pretty quick. But
It's funny
yeah,
because you know how everybody's got that game that like maybe their friends play but they don't. All my friends are into that series. Persona, I guess, is the series, right? I've heard all the stuff you guys are talking about. I've never actually played the game, but I'm like, yep, that's what they were talking about. Like hearing it from other people is a whole different perspective on it. But
Persona is a segment of the Shin Megami Tensei series, like at the
right.
general umbrella.
Yeah, it's a spin-off series.
Because I remember like the other thing my friend will be complaining about with it. Well, he'll say something like, "Oh man, I've got to get my school days put together so I can meet this person at this specific time." I'm like, "The hell are you talking about?" I guess I don't know, whatever. But that's probably me in Elite Dangerous. I'm sure he hates me talking about Elite Dangerous because it's equally out there and confusing and not interesting to people who really aren't as on it. But
Yeah.
I've heard all these complaints before, and it's just weird to actually hear them from other people.
Yeah, for me, it's me and Dark Souls. I've never played a Souls game, but everybody I know is super into Dark Souls, and they keep telling me I need to play it. I'm just like, I'm not interested. I love that it exists for the people who like it, but it's just not the kind of game I'm ever going to be into.
It's one of those games I've given a shot like 5 or 6 times, and just every time I'm like, this game's not for me. Like, and that's where I just leave off on it.
Yeah,
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not even the kind of thing you dislike, right? It's just like,
No, it's just not for me.
I know this isn't for me, and I know this is great for the people who are into it.
Yeah, it'll come out, and like everybody, like the forums for the next 2 days will be like, I feel like with Dark Souls, I don't hate it. I just know it's not for me. But I feel like a lot of the fun of Dark Souls is telling people about how you beat certain things. But it's not really, to me, not playing it. It's like, oh, I just dodged to hit X. Well, okay, cool. That's not, you know what I mean? It's not like trying to tell somebody how to beat Emerald Weapon, for example, or like there's not like strategies that you can relay to each other. It's more, well, this is the build I use, and I dodge and roll and hit X. Like, it's not.
Well, there is some. I mean, yeah, granted, builds are important, but there is definitely some requirement that you learn patterns and you figure out, which side to, take enemies on and such. I mean, it's there is definitely some skill involved. I mean, there is a skill barrier of sorts.
I don't doubt that at all. But I mean, it's just when everybody gets to that boss or to that guy or to that whatever, there's not much you can relate to other people to say, do this and you'll be okay, or like go back to this level and find this item. It's very much, well, either you're gonna land the dodges or not. So that's where I'm always at. As people talk about it, I'm just like, well, good luck landing your dodges or hitting X correctly.
I feel like this is the kind of story that's better relayed through video, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what you usually see with Dark Souls is you see people, first,
that's a very popular streaming game.
Yeah. When it first comes out, it's all the streaming, and then it's all the videos, like the how-to guides, and then it's like people beating it with like the Donkey Kong bongos or whatever. But yeah, it's that kind of like pattern every Dark Souls game. I think it's an interesting series, but you know how I know we talk about this a lot, just not so much here, but on the Avocado in general. But sometimes fans turn you off of games. Sometimes with Dark Souls, I get a little bit of that where it's like, well, you're just not hardcore enough, or you're not good enough. And I'm like, I can show you very bizarre games that I've got really weird achievements in, and it's not that I don't want to devote the time to Dark Souls, I just don't enjoy it as much as other people seem to. So
See, I know I'm not good enough. I just don't give a shit.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely an unfortunate stereotype in that regard because, I mean, yes, it is a challenging game. I also don't think it's the you die, get good routine.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it requires a lot of patience. And for some people, I mean, that's just clearly not how it works.
Mhm.
And I'm going to give you a quick dark secret here. I still haven't played Dark Souls 3.
Oh, really?
I need to get a better video card before I do that. But yeah.
Yeah, because
I've heard it's really good.
I bought the guide for Dark. I got really trying to get really into Dark Souls too. Like I bought the guide, the Prima. I think it's Piggyback. The Piggyback's better, right? The whatever the better guide is. So I bought that guide. I like sat down. I was like, I'm gonna figure this game out. I'm gonna get all into it. And then like when you start, like it's like a whole other language. It's like you can't talk about the same stuff with other games you can in Dark Souls. A lot of the stuff doesn't translate well. Like your humanity level, and you need this sword to activate this, to go through this, to join this thing that lets you like do something 10 hours down the line. So it's a really hard game to strategize your way through, which I don't like in my RPGs, and that's really part of what turns me off about it. And I mean, I'm not saying like that Skyrim's the exact opposite, but Skyrim's like, here's your world, go figure this shit out, you know, in a different way than Dark Souls is. I find the Skyrim way a little bit more enjoyable, I guess.
In Skyrim, pretty much any build is viable.
Right. I mean, you can be a stealth archer, you can be a magic guy that uses shields. You know, as long as you build towards it, you can make that game what you want it to be. Not that Dark Souls is bad, but you know, you can get into a Dark Souls game. At least what I found out in Dark Souls 2, you can get about halfway into it and realize, holy shit, I can't beat this game. Like no matter how good I am or whatever, like there's like a item threshold or whatever that I'll never reach, or like I've used too much of my humanity or other things like that. So that can be a frustrating experience, but I'm sure the more you play it, the more you devote to it, the more you follow it and everything, it's probably a totally different experience, but not one I'm signing up for it.
Yeah, it's always a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's something that you experience collectively with other people and you trade secrets about it, and that's how people get through it.
Oh, definitely. Like I've always kind of pertained it to, like, you know how online wikis are these days. It's kind of the online version of the playground talk you used to have when, you know, you talk to your friends at school on the playground about
like Pokemon and stuff.
Oh yeah, or you know, make sure in Super Mario Brothers 3 that you run like six rooms past there to get to the real door and stuff like that. And you would just kind of collect information from your friends, and it's kind of the same thing, only online.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like the game has its own folklore that it sort of builds around it.
Yeah, because like I said, never really played it much past the intros and first areas, but like people will talk to me about how they defeated this one guy, and like it's hard for me to relate, but it sounds interesting as shit, but I don't know how well that would translate to if I was trying to get advice on how to beat this guy. I don't know what that would do for me until I saw the video or studied up on it or read up on it or whatever.
Yeah. Get good.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Get good.
Stoneheart, you ever played Dark Souls?
Yeah, so I started I started the first one, and I think I went with like a sorcerer, and essentially this was like 2 years ago or so, and I wasn't really playing any other game at the time, so I was just kind of like throwing myself against the
like throwing yourself against a brick wall.
Yeah, like I was slowly making progress right up into and apparently this boss is kind of infamous in the first game. It's called like the TheKappa demon. And
I've actually heard of this.
Yeah, so and I realized I looked up some videos and it's like, okay, if I could dodge fast enough, and it reached the point where it wasn't because each time I died, I'd have to like repeat this whole segment to get to the boss. Like eventually I sort of decided that like I could probably beat this eventually, but right now I don't feel like it's an enjoyable use of my time. It was also like around the time I dropped, it was also like the busiest semester of undergraduate college I had. So essentially I ended up dropping it, and sometimes I get into my mind like maybe I should try again, but then
maybe it's a good game somewhere. I mean, we could do a whole other podcast about games that we've just given way more shots than they're worth. You know, I definitely, there's a lot of games out there that I've tried to really get into, and there's some that I beat and just never really enjoyed anywhere near as much as other people seem to. Um, Banner Saga, that's one off the top of my head that, you know, it's just, I've given it a lot of shots. I can just never really kind of turn the corner on it being a fun game. Firewatch, you know, there's definitely some out there that I know are good games or that are good enough that people enjoy, but man, it's hard for me to make that connection.
Yeah, for me, it's the original Far Cry. I've never been able to. I got about halfway through, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck this.
Yeah, yeah. That was an example maybe of open-ended going too far. You know, where it's almost aimless what you end up doing in Far Cry 1. I feel like Far Cry 1 was more about
Far Cry 1
showing
is linear. Far Cry 1 is completely
What is it?
linear. Yeah, Far Cry 2's the one. Far Cry 2.
Which one? The Africa. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, you're
Far
right.
Cry 1 is the one that's mostly linear.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just stupid hard for no reason, and it really should have a save anywhere feature. And in fact, it does have a save anywhere feature. You can access it by console, but they built it with checkpoints, and the checkpoints make no sense.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Far Cry 1. I played it for probably about an hour because it was like a bundle for new graphics cards around the time. Like, I think that's how everybody got Far Cry 1 was buying like some kind of graphic card because it was like to show off the graphic card type game.
One of Crytek's first games.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Crytek is all about tech graphics.
Right.
I mean, after that they came out with Crysis, and then it was the whole thing was can you run Crysis on your PC?
Yeah.
Dick measuring thing with people's video cards. Yeah. So, PT, what have you been playing?
It's been Dragon Quest VII, quite honestly. Though the Reign of Terror has finally ended. I finally finished I finished the main content. I think it was like 92 hours or so, and that was also me kind of screwing around and grinding a little. So, but 80 to 92 hours sounds like a reasonable thing for that. And then I went into the bonus dungeons and grinded way too much to beat the first bonus boss, which made the second cave just the most trivial thing. Just to clarify, this game, unlike many JRPGs, kind of like to the vein of Chrono Trigger, has like encounters like on the map. Like you can try to dodge the monsters if you want to. I mean,
it's like Persona 4, right? Where you can dodge the shadows if you're clever enough.
Yeah, and you can't do any like preemptive strikes or anything though. But if you are too highly leveled in that game, the monsters will actively run away from you. And I mean, you can still attack them and everything. I mean, you kind of wish it was something like Earthbound, where if you ran into an enemy, you just automatically won the fight and moved on with your life. But no, there's also the additional problem that if you fight someone under-leveled, well, you're not going to get job class points. So you have to exploit something where pretty early on in the game, you open up this monster town where you send monsters that just don't want to fight anymore. They want to like go live by themselves, live on their own, and they give you these tablets, which are kind of like small little maps that you can like put on a grid and transport you to some map there. The DLC maps, which Square Enix has kind of offered, those have no level cap. So regardless of how weak the enemies are in there, you can just get job points endlessly in there. So you can just go beat up slimes for 10 hours and all your job skills will go up. So it's kind of a weird exploit.
XP.
Yeah.
Or job points, whatever they're called.
Job points, yeah. But beyond that, so gosh, it was at least 120 hours before I was done with both things, both bonus dungeons. And I'm going to clarify. I'm going to say what I kind of said last time where, yeah, this game, I really did enjoy this game. It's a game that you kind of have to be patient on. It does not have the bells and whistles of a modern JRPG, like the Final Fantasy series and such. And frankly, that's not what Dragon Quest is. It's never has been that. And I mean, I remember when people, I actually haven't played Dragon Quest IX, but I remember during the original launch, the original discussion about it, people kind of went nuts over the fact it was going to be more action RPG-ish or something.
Oh,
and
nuts in a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way. And it became a more traditional JRPG, though I think all the characters were essentially blanks. Like I think it could like just dress them up and job class them and such. Yeah, that's something I should definitely play. But yeah, this is a very traditional game, and the length of the game is, again, because you're doing many mini adventures. You're slowly reforming this world, and islands appear everywhere, and you're a savior, and then eventually the most obvious twist in the world happens, and then you got to do it again, something
like
else.
A JRPG.
Yeah, sounds a lot like Bravely Second too, and I mean that's what I've been playing, and it sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it's like, but I wanted to clarify something real quick. We were talking about Apocalypse earlier. Dragon Quest VII is interesting that the AI actually isn't terrible. I mean, it's actually very welcome, because you get kind of bored selecting 4 people per command, per battle, especially when you battle a lot in this game. And so you have the AI options that are essentially don't use magic, or heal me, or keep an eye on the main character, or just go all out. And you get so many abilities and attacks in this game that even if you put everyone on don't use magic, they're still incredibly effective. Like they'll just especially if you like put points in Dancer, and they do all the goofy little attack dance move, which takes out like groups of enemies, and it's crazy
Dance
effective.
Combat.
Wow,
it's like muscle dance or whatever, where it is like they just kind of like just do a little dance right in front of them. It hits them, I guess. But no, it's just it's kind of funny how, and when you put on the more aggressive AIs, I mean, they're pretty smart about healing people, reviving people, taking out status effects, stuff like that. So I was actually genuinely surprised that a very traditional game like that had a really solid AI system where I could trust, maybe 95% of the time, I could trust the decisions of the other characters, and which was a blessing, because again, having to manually select 4 different characters' commands in a battle every time was kind of got old. But
yeah, it does get tedious when you have to, especially if you're selecting the same thing over and over again. It does get tedious when you have to do it 4 times.
But
sorry, what were you saying, Stoneheart?
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, I mean, I'm still in because I've been mostly playing Apocalypse. I'm still like in the beginning of Dragon Quest VII, so I haven't gotten anything with like the job stuff. But so pretty much because my abilities are rather limited, every battle it could be I just set my 2 other characters to just like don't use magic, and they just because they one of them does have an attack that's not magic, that's more powerful than just like the standard attack. So rather than having to go through like a couple menus to select that attack, he instantly does it, and it's really convenient.
Yeah, for sure. So Kappa, what have you been playing?
This segment is brought to you by Activision Blizzard, I guess.
Overwatch?
Yeah, the Overwatch Halloween mode. So this happens all the time with these types of, holiday events or whatever, where people are like, this needs to stay in the game. Like, this is so much fun. It doesn't need to be a holiday-only mode. It needs to be a permanent part of Overwatch. And I hope to God this is one of the times that like the developers actually listen. If not this exact mode, a mode like it. It's almost a totally different game, the Halloween version of Overwatch. Have you guys played Overwatch at all, or?
No, but I've heard of this Halloween mode.
Yeah,
I played a little on the free weekends, but nothing beyond that.
It's a hero-based shooter. Nothing crazy there. You pick your teams, go against other teams of other classes and heroes, stuff like that.
Well, now hold on. The hero shooters are a relatively recent phenomenon. I mean, there's Overwatch and Battleborn. Nothing crazy now that we're all used to Overwatch, but if you go back to the start of this year, it wasn't really a genre.
Well, I would argue that Team Fortress 2 is probably the prototype of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you've got
didn't have the same personality, right?
No.
Yeah, they're not really characters. Okay, I see your point. Yeah.
So I mean, and then there's class-based shooter, I guess, would probably be better. But this is the first time where you've got, your persistenceness to it and everything else. But anyway, so this mode is basically horde mode, which is, I would say 90% of shooters now are including a horde mode in somewhere in there. But it is so damn enjoyable. It's a Halloween theme, very jokey, tongue-in-cheek. Characters are wearing costumes. You have to defend a door from these robot zombies from getting to the door and blowing themselves up. It's not complicated. It only lasts about 10 minutes. It's nothing super in-depth. There's not a lot of strategies to it. It's just fun. It's just a very fun, old-school, arcadey feel to it. And I really hope it sticks around after Halloween.
So similar to, say, Team Fortress 2's Man vs. Machine mode?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were going for. The closest I could say that it really feels like is there's a mode in Halo, I think Halo 4, that was kind of similar, where you had to basically stop wave after wave of enemies from getting to an objective, and that's basically what it is. You're kind of programmed to fail at some point. You can definitely stop them in the Overwatch mode, but you're limited to 4 heroes, which is one big shakeup, right? Because in the game, people get their favorites and they play the same heroes over and over again. And in this mode, you're basically limited to a sniper healer. I know it doesn't make sense, but if you play Overwatch, it does.
Yeah.
You've got that. You've got a gunslinger who's your standard cowboy, an archer, and your standard shooter guy with rockets and stuff like that. So there's 4 distinct classes, and so it's a rush at the beginning to not be the sniper healer, because that's obviously where the most pressure is. Like in any game, healing is not easy, especially when people in Overwatch tend to jump around like spazzes and never stand still to get a heal or whatever. But the mode itself is great. I've really, really, really been enjoying it. So I've been playing a lot of that, and I've been mixing it up with some StarCraft 2 co-op on the side. I don't know why, I'm just on this Blizzard kick, but maybe I just needed some really, really well-polished games. But both of them are really hitting a nice little spot for me right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun mode.
It is.
I always enjoy co-op more than competitive. Because co-op, I mean, the stress is a little bit less. Competitive, You're always like trying to be the best. Whereas co-op, it's a nice casual thing you can do.
This is another one of those things that I'm going to say, and I'm never going to be able to find this article, but it was basically a suggestion that people of our generation, right? I think we're all like 30s-ish, right? People in our generation
a little bit younger than that. But
okay, whatever, youngsters. But people our age much prefer cooperative mode to competitive mode. Like people who were 10 years older than us or whatever, like the people who grew up on Doom a little bit more and stuff, they're all about the competitive mode, and so are the younger generation who grew up on Call of Duty. But we're like in this little weird island of we want co-op. We want to go against AI that's pretty competent, but still gives us a little bit of room for error. It's enjoyable. It's not as stressful. So that's what I like about horde modes, right? Like you can take your time a little bit. It's not as crazy stressful. Every time you screw up, it doesn't, kill your whole team and make it point out how bad you suck at the game and stuff like that. It's much more forgiving. Just in general, I way prefer cooperative modes. And at this point, it's something I look for. If a game says it has multiplayer, the first thing I look for is, does it have either a cooperative mode or something like, did you guys play the Mass Effect multiplayer at all?
Yeah, Mass Effect 3 had a really good one.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. I mean, that's a fun way to waste some time with some buddies, and still it's in a game world you enjoy. But yeah, I don't know where they're going in the future here, but I really hope that co-op's here to stay.
Yeah, I think for the games that it's suited for, especially Mass Effect, I think we're going to see these horde modes and co-op modes stay. The games that specialize in competitive, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, I think they're going to stick with the competitive route. And I think these games will sort of sort themselves out into cooperative multiplayer and competitive multiplayer.
Yeah, well, horde mode comes from Gears of War, right? Wasn't that the first one that really had the horde mode?
I mean, there are some games that'll do both and do both very well. So, pardon me?
Oh, you said Gears of War. I think it was Gears of War 2.
Yeah, but I mean that was like at the time I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is fresh and new, and now it's like I think it's become I would say a standard, but it's definitely in most games now at this point.
So speaking of fresh and new, let's talk about fresh and new consoles, or consoles that are sort of fresh and new, but not really fresh and new. And okay, the reason I want to talk about this is a few weeks ago, um, Sony announced that they're going to make a new PlayStation, not the PlayStation 5, a sort of PlayStation 4.5 that they're going to call the Neo. And at E3 this year, Microsoft, who makes Xbox, announced they're going to make the Xbox One Scorpio, Project Scorpio, they're calling it. These are mid-generation console refreshes that are going to have more graphical capabilities, more processing capabilities than their predecessors, but they're going to be apparently fully backwards compatible with everything, and all existing games will be forwards compatible with it. So it's just that the games for the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, will run slightly better or look slightly nicer on these new consoles. So I was wondering what you guys thought of this, because this is not something that used to happen that much before, or at least not to the same degree. There is some precedent for it, but not that much. I was wondering if you guys think this is like a bold new move, that it's going to work out for the best, that's good for consumers, that's bad for consumers. What do you guys think?
I think Nintendo's been doing it a while, but not so much with their consoles, but especially with their handhelds. They've been doing the mid-generation thing.
So, yeah, they had the Game Boy Color was sort of an upgrade. 3DS, new 3DS.
Yeah, I think, I'd definitely say the Game Boy Color is a little bit different because there was quite a few like exclusive games. But like I think from the DS to the DSi, like the DSi like added some stuff with like it added like an online shop, and so there was some stuff exclusive to it, but like for the most part it was just like a slight upgrade to the hardware at the loss of the Game Boy Advance slot.
Yeah, and then the 3DS they updated with the new 3DS that has a few exclusives, but for the most part everything is compatible on both 3DS and new 3DS.
Yeah, and in some cases they do utilize the extra hardware power, and in some cases they don't, which is kind of frustrating because I know that the English version of Dragon Quest VII has reported some slowdown, and I've actually read elsewhere that if you can use custom firmware, which I can't because I'm a good boy and I update to the latest version at all times because I want to be protected from those evil hackers. You can actually put some custom firmware on the device and unlock the extra new 3DS horsepower for any game, which apparently makes Dragon Quest VII back to full speed again, which it may be kind of slightly bitter because yes, some of the menus in that game are a tad slow, a tad dodgy, and I was kind of wondering why.
That's horrible to hear, actually.
It's 3 years old technically.
So I mean, coming at this from, I'm mostly a PC gamer at this point. Like this, it makes sense to me. I mean, I've gotten to the point where if I want to keep running games on high or ultra or whatever you want to call it, every 3 years is what I'm looking at. Console cycles have been traditionally 7 years. So it makes sense to have a mid-tier. And if you think way back to remember Sega CD and all those weird add-ons for the Super Nintendo and all those little things, they've done it before to try to get the most out of a generation. It seems like Microsoft at least is embracing that people are going to want a lot more 4K support than just simple upscaling, because 4K is where it's going to. So I don't understand Sony's stance on it. It doesn't make as much sense to me. I've got a 4K TV. I recently purchased one, honestly, and the only thing that's going to make sense for me going forward is going to be a Scorpio, right? Because at least it's got the full 4K support, and everything that they've talked about has made me think that Xbox is looking at 4K as where their focus is, whereas Sony is just kind of touting a little bit more speed, a little bit more virtual RAM, slightly upgraded graphics card. There's stuff under the hood, but
they are saying that some games will be playable at 4K, but they're not going to claim that all of them will.
Well, you know what's weird to me, and I think I read this somewhere, maybe it was Reddit or something, but somebody had a good point. They said, we're struggling to hit 60 FPS, trying to hit 1080 right now, right? There's all these games where they have some BS reason about why it's 30 frames per second. So how are they going to all of a sudden make this light year jump to 4K?
Which is 4 times the pixels.
Right. The only thing I could think about is Microsoft has always been kind of talking about these behind the scenes Azure servers that, some kind of voodoo system that allows them to kind of, I guess, co-process through streaming or server. I have no idea, right? It's all these teraflops and bullshit. But I'd be interested to see where it comes out, because 4K gaming is really going to be a big breakthrough if it is. And I game now on a 1440 monitor, super widescreen, and it changes a lot. To go up a big resolution hop like that, it can be really a game changer. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm definitely in the market for a Scorpio right now. My PS4, I don't know, it might still stay a PS4 for a while until I get a little bit more news about what Sony's going to be bringing to the table. But I'm excited about what Microsoft's trying to do.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That for the people who are, who want to be on the cutting edge, it's definitely, it can definitely be an asset. So for someone like me who got the console, who got my PS4 for specific games, I wasn't really looking for, a top quality graphical experience. That's what my PC's for. It's a little bit, I don't want to say it's a betrayal, but, people are encouraging you Sony's encouraging you, go out and buy our console. It's great. It's cutting edge. And then a few months later, they come up with a hardware refresh and, your old console is crap. It does feel a bit like, like you're sort of getting left behind.
Yeah, and all it's going to take is one game to fragment everything. Like, let's say the new Call of Duty comes out and they say, hey, if you've got a PS Pro, you can run this mode. But if you don't have a PS Pro, you can't run it. Think about like what Microsoft had to do early on in the Xbox 360's life, where supposedly for a long time you weren't going to need a hard drive, right? What happened? Like, games started to say you need a hard drive for this game. We need to store stuff on the hard drive, and then it became mandatory. And then they were like, forget it. There was no more version of the Xbox Arcade. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but that was the version that didn't come with a hard drive. I could really see that happen this generation. It's only a matter of time before people are like, okay, well, our game requires PS4 Pro because X, Y, or Z. And it also takes away the advantage consoles have over PCs, which is where you're developing for one system, right?
Right. It's fragmenting the ecosystem.
Right. So it doesn't make sense from that standpoint. Okay, because Destiny, good example, right? They made Destiny and they said, okay, it's going to have to be for all existing consoles, right? New generation at the time, which was Xbox One and PS4, and Xbox 360, PS3. And you can read some of the horror stories about Destiny, but basically having to do that really screwed everything up. It wasn't as simple as just porting stuff over, because all this stuff is server side. The 4 different systems do things in very different ways. And it wasn't long until Destiny was like, straight up, we're stopping support for all this other stuff, and we're just focusing on what was then current gen, Xbox One and PS4. I can see that coming. I mean, I can see a point already where, these PS4s and Xbox Ones we have now are just Netflix boxes for everybody else. But I think they're trying to not paint the future as that bleak and telling you need to buy another console only 3 years, 4 years in. But that's 100% where I see it going.
Yeah, I mean, for now they're saying there are not going to be any exclusive features or titles. At least that's what they're trying. That's at least the image they're trying to put across. But it only takes one game with a good enough deal for Sony or Microsoft to bend that rule.
Right.
And I don't know if I trust Sony or Microsoft not to bend that rule.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say is, and it's always that one system seller. It's always that Call of Duty or that Madden or that like those things that maybe we don't appreciate, but millions and millions of people buy. And if they perceive there's any kind of slight edge or version that makes it better or worse, well, then the other one's going to die out. Just is. That's the way it's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, one would hope they've crunched the numbers on this and they're fine with chopping the market into pieces. But I mean, it very well could backfire.
Yeah.
And that's my worry, that if they push this too hard, they'll fragment the console ecosystem too much, and then people get frustrated. They're not going to want to buy They're not going to want to buy into the next generation.
So it's
because they know it's going to be obsolete midway through.
Time to buy Nvidia stock. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, maybe you should have bought AMD stock this time around because AMD are the chips in both the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Oh, I just mean everybody running back over to PC.
NVIDIA? Oh,
Yeah,
PC,
yeah. Because I don't know. I don't know what Nintendo's doing. They're I don't know what they're doing, but Xbox and PS4, they definitely got to be angling for even slight technical advantages. Do you guys remember when they announced the two systems? People went nuts with how much better, how much stronger PS4 was, even though I've got both, honestly, and I don't really have a dog.
It was slightly stronger, but it wasn't so much strong.
Yeah,
it wasn't so much stronger that I was, blown away or anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's actually a good point. That in a lot of ways feels like an extension of the console wars, right? Mm-hmm. Xbox comes out with Project Scorpio, PlayStation comes out with PS4 Pro, or Neo, or whatever the hell it's called. I think I was calling it Neo before. That was the code name. Yeah. It's actually PS4 Pro. Sorry for the confusion.
Well, I mean, we're kind of ignoring the Xbox S, which is a true mid-cycle. Yeah, that one I don't know who that's for. I think that's more of the price is actually really nice. If you don't have an Xbox One, that's a really nice price. But I think that's who that is geared for.
How much is it?
I think it's $349.
So models for $299, $349, and $399.
Yeah, so $299, but you're getting basically an upgraded Xbox One, and I think there's a whole bunch of pack-ins with it. I don't remember exactly what, but looking at it on paper, it looked like a very good deal.
Oh wow!
But
yeah, they've added what they've added is HDR support, and they've added Bluetooth to the controller.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I can't tell you how much I love the Xbox One Elite controller. I know I sound like I just have throwing money away left and right, but it's probably the best controller I've ever played with. So
if that $150,
it's so great. I don't care. I'd pay $200 for it. Microsoft could charge me more. I love this controller. It's changed my life.
Is that the one that had like all the swappable?
You know what?
Components?
And here's what's so great about it too. It's if you play with it on PC, it's got like you can set like tensions on the left and right triggers. So like let's say you're playing like GTA or something where like you're constantly holding down the right trigger for driving. You don't have to do a long pull on it. You can just basically rest your finger on it and it counts as having it all the way down. So there's a lot of little settings in there, and you can adjust the control stick, like the stick itself, the sensitivity on it. It's really, really good for PC stuff. I don't know if you got all those features on the Xbox One, but I love it. I can't get enough of it. So that's what they need to bundle in if they want to sell more consoles.
Yeah, I imagine it's a really great controller, and everybody I've heard who's used it has spoken very highly of it. The only thing I think that's a little bit prohibitive for some people is the cost.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, so it's bundled in with the S?
No.
It's not bundled with the S. It's a separate thing.
That's what I'm saying is if they want to, that's one quick trick right there to get people buying consoles is to throw those Elites in, because for a while you couldn't buy Elites. They were sold out everywhere, but now I'm starting to see them more and more, so maybe that's a solution for them.
Yeah, I imagine that would be really expensive. I imagine the components in the controller are actually probably more expensive than the components in the console.
I don't know if they are, honestly. I mean, I feel like a lot of it is just they knew people wanted it bad enough. The controller, to me, it's way higher quality than the Xbox One. Don't get me wrong, but I would be surprised if it cost that much more to make.
Yeah, okay. I you're probably right, because now I'm thinking of it, and I guess there's like a couple of circuit boards and some buttons in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the buttons and the circuit boards fancier, but it can't cost that much more.
Right, and the main difference I think in it is the quality. It's all like burnished aluminum, instead of like plastic. So I'm sure that costs extra, in the actual manufacturing process and everything. But I mean, it pays for itself, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because as somebody who has I had to throw out my shitty knockoff Xbox 360 controller that I had for my PC because
the GameStop ones that none of the buttons work after a week.
Yeah, it was actually recommended to me. It's by this company called this brand called Rock Candy. So I had this nice bright green Xbox controller, and I was really happy because I love the color green. And then about a year after using it, the dead zone on one of the triggers just died, and it does that thing where if you touch the thumbstick even a little bit, it just goes haywire. It's like you're pressing the thumbstick all the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, the dead zones just died on that. Same thing happened to my PS3 controllers, but those are really old now.
I mean, getting back into how the consoles, talking about console wars round 5 or whatever this is, but you're right. I think the differentiation right now is really hard for the two companies. You don't have the exclusives like you used to. Even the exclusives that have been coming out have been like lackluster, like Recore. I mean, it's okay.
Have you played Recore?
Yeah. And I have a feeling people are probably going to lose their mind, but I have a feeling Shadows of Colossus, or not Shadows of Colossus,
The Last
Guardian. Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to just be okay. And like, I don't think games are moving consoles anymore, so they need to figure out something. And I don't know what it is. Is it the tech behind the hood? Is it their streaming services? Is it, Microsoft?
I mean, I think Nintendo to some extent gets. See, Nintendo's got this all backwards, right? Because it's Nintendo games. Nintendo's like the one console that's sold on the strength of its games, right? But they keep wanting to sell their consoles with weird hardware gimmicks.
Right.
Sony and Microsoft's consoles aren't really sold on the strength of their games, unless you're that big Halo fan or that big Uncharted fan, right? Maybe those are the companies that need to be picking up the weird hardware game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a great point because, yeah, I don't know either. I don't think there's really going to be a good answer. What makes all the games work all of a sudden? But if you had to ask me, I think what's going to end up happening, short of for long, is that everybody's going to end up trying to sell their little dongles and doodads, your Kinects and your PSVRs and all this other stuff. I don't think people are going to keep buying it. I think you're going to keep pushing people towards PC with all the fractioning.
So speaking of VR, that's possibly another reason why PlayStation was investing in this console refresh. Reportedly, PSVR as it exists right now doesn't run all that well on the existing PS4 hardware, and a lot of people are reporting that it works, but the graphical capabilities just aren't there, or the frame rates are a little bit lower than they should be. And so, with the additional processing power from a PS4 Pro, all these VR games will run a little smoother, and it'll be a better showcase for VR. That might be part of the reason they're going for this mid-gen console refresh.
Makes sense to me, but VR is not there yet. I mean, it's not. I've tried it a couple different times. I've got friends that have Oculuses. I think I told, maybe it was the very first podcast, I said I pulled the trigger on an ultra-wide monitor rather than VR because I found it really lackluster. I don't know if you guys have tried it, played it, have it, but I don't think
Never
it's
tried
there
it.
yet. Yeah, if you just look at the list of VR games, you'll find maybe one or two in there that look like they might be interesting or fun to play. But other than that, it's the Wii Remote round 2. It's 3D gaming. Do you guys remember 3D gaming? I mean, like it's all those.
Yeah, I remember one of my buddies. He had I think he had a 3D capable monitor, and he got, I think, was it Deus Ex or Batman running in 3D, and he got the stupid goggles.
It's not comfortable. It's not. You need too much room. You need too much hardware. It's not gonna. I don't see it taking over the living room like people think it's gonna. You know where I think the perfect place for VR is, like a Samsung Gear. You know what I mean? Like one of those little things. Plug your phone into it and watch a funny movie, or play a 30-second phone game or something. Because that's really all I ever see it being. I doubt anything.
That is if the Samsung Gear doesn't explode in your face.
that'd be one hell of an explosion because there's nothing in that thing. It's just
I think
glasses.
they actually put out an official. I think Oculus actually officially dropped support for.
You're talking about the Note 7 or
the Note 7.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't know. Plus Oculus, I have no interest in Oculus because I'm not getting inside of Facebook's walled garden no matter what. That just seems like a disaster in the making. So I guess it'd be the HTC Vive, and I really haven't seen enough about that makes me want to run out and buy that at all.
I mean, you need a VR room, pretty much.
Yeah, 6x6 with nothing in it. Come on. People complain about the Kinect, and that needed way less than that. I don't know. I don't know where the VR future is going, but I'm going to sound like a Microsoft fanboy again, but I'm actually way more interested in something like a HoloLens than I am VR. That overlay HUD being on your glasses or whatever instead of in game might be really a cool transition. I think, but
Yeah, AR seems like it's. I mean, Google Glass was a flop, right?
right.
But it seems like Google Glass was a flop because it was just a stupidly executed version of AR. I think it has, what you show first is the entertainment applications, then you pretend it's a productivity tool.
Right.
And they went right for productivity right off the bat. And everybody thought, well, not only is this a big privacy concern, you also look like a major douche wearing it. Whereas if you introduce it into the living room where it's a gadget and then you expand on the possibilities, maybe maybe that would have been a better way for Google to get into it. But I don't think Google's ever really understood gaming all that well.
Well, gaming right now is really getting into that second screen experience, right? Like how many games now have a tablet companion, a phone companion, an add-on app, I think it's only a matter of time before somebody figures out, shit, if I can put that all on a pair of glasses while people are playing the game, I'm not having to get people's attention away from the game, which is annoying, right? But they've tried to do the AR thing a couple times now, but something like that, it doesn't have to be HoloLens, but something where you're basically layering a screen on top of a screen, I think is much more interesting to me as a gamer than VR, right?
I mean, it's certainly neat. And especially they're at the stage right now where every time I see that this game is a companion app or a tablet component, like in my head, I'm just like, fuck you, game. Like, stop wasting my time with this bullshit. I don't want to pull out my phone every time I'm playing Deus Ex to tap on some icon or scan some fucking.
Oh god, that's so annoying. I can't bitch about Deus Ex anymore. I don't know if you guys got any into that last week, but god.
I mean, I'm not gonna bitch about Deus Ex more because I actually really like the game in spite of all like. It's surprising how well that game succeeds in spite of all the bullshit surrounding it. But
for the third one, I scanned and I realized this is just like devs interviews.
Just put the fucking dev interviews in the game, right? I don't want to fucking open this up on my phone. I don't have time for this bullshit. It's gotta play a game. I want to play the damn game. And like, Creed has like these fucking tablet apps now. No, just let me play the goddamn game. Anyway, sorry, PT, you were saying.
Not a problem. I'm sorry. It's kind of like how to do anything on Steam these days, like even sell trading cards, you have to do just their horrible, system now where you have to confirm via the tablet or a smartphone because, corruption, hackers and corruption.
Because some asshole hacker in Russia is unloading tons of illegally obtained cards or something like that.
This is going to take us on I'm sure this could be another podcast episode, but Steam is in desperate need of a total refresh as a system.
I think that's what we talked about last week, actually.
People have needed it for so long, but I don't know if you guys have loaded up Origin in a while, but holy shit, it's like a breath of fresh air opening up Origin right now, like compared to Steam. Like you can tell it's modern software, everything's right where it needs to be, very slick interfaces. It's got all these like nice little overlays for the games and stuff. Playing Dragon Age Inquisition the past couple of weeks, I was like, man, Steam could look like this, but no, it's still this.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Steam, it's trying to do a lot more than Origin.
Right.
But at the same time, Steam's been around for so much longer, and it should have ironed out so many of these features by now.
And Steam's put a lot of those features on itself. Nobody was clamoring for shit like early access or Project Greenlight or stuff like. There's been Steam's made a lot of compromises for the sake of money. And to have a giant marketplace so people can say, holy shit, there's 50 million games or whatever on Steam, but when 30,000 of them are piece of shit visual novels or whatever those things are called, and every time
it's not even the visual novels that are the shitty things.
Wow,
It's
you'd get a backlash on that. There are some people who really love visual novels, but
there are poorly made visual novels to sure. But it's the games that are like the really shitty games are not so much the visual novels, but like people making shitty like there are
zombie tower defenses,
shitty zombie survival games that have like they're just using assets from the Unity store, or like shitty walking simulators where you just like stand on a bench and listen to somebody drone in a monotone about some pretentious sophomore bullshit.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of garbage that's clogging the Steam store. And it's really sad that, you know, Steam is for the most part a pretty good piece of software. It's being clogged by all this garbage that just doesn't need to be there.
I would be in favor of something like a tier system on Steam. Like your product needs to hit a certain tier of, I don't know if you want to call it sales or reviews or something, before you start to kind of pop up on like the main page or like during sales. Like, have you guys looked at like during the Steam sales now? When you try to like go through the list of everything on sales, it is a nightmare. I mean, it's like 1 million games that probably wouldn't even cut it in the Google Play Store. And then, you know, yeah. So yeah, I love Origin right now, but Steam has a ton of issues, and I think Steam's kind of waging a lot of wars. I don't know why. Like Steam's been trying to push this Linux thing forever now. They've got the Steam controller that's a flop, the Steam computers that are a flop, and they're getting in bed with the Vive, where I don't want Steam really to have anything to do with hardware. I want them to just play my video games for me on my computer. So
yeah. So the thing about Steam OS and the whole Linux thing, and it has been a dud. Let's face it. The reason they went that route is because Windows 8 was so hated that for a while it seemed like the right thing to do. Right? It seemed like people would eventually jump ship from Windows if it didn't get its act together. And then Windows 10 came out, and Windows 10 was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the alarm bell stopped ringing. So I guess it made sense at the time. They just didn't have the foresight to think that Microsoft would get its shit together.
I don't. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, to be fair, they really haven't got their shit together, because I'm still sitting on a security update that won't install right now on Windows 10. But they still can't do.
I hate when that happens.
They still can't do simple things like that, and I think the so-called walled garden thing that Valve was really worried about at the time sort of dissipated, because no one cares about the Windows Store.
Yeah.
It's just simple as that.
I don't even know how to access the Windows Store, and I've been running Windows 10 for like a year.
So here, I purchased Recore on my Xbox One, and it said, hey, go to your PC, sign in through the Windows Store, and then download your free copy. And it was just there waiting for me. The problem is that the Windows Store is not intuitive at all, because they've got all that mobile shit crammed in there, you know? So it's like all, you know, Temple Run and all those other million things in there. So when you go to filter through the store, it's not like you can look up easily, you know, okay, I'm looking for Xbox One games or whatever. But the Play Anywhere initiative, if you're a PC gamer and an Xbox One owner, is very, very, very interesting to see where it goes from here. Like right now, if you buy Gears of War 4, they give you Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and Judgment for free on PC and Xbox One for the price of Gears of War 4. I think that's kind of how they're trying.
They've ported all of them, because my impression is that only the first Gears of War was on PC.
I don't know if they are, but they're doing it. They're doing it through backwards compatibility on Xbox One, so they're at least upscaled somewhat.
Okay, so those are all on Xbox One,
right?
But you only get the Gears of War 4 on PC.
I don't know what's available on PC. Honestly, I think maybe Gears of War 1 and
yeah, I know Gears of War 1 did get ported to PC, but 2 and 3 and Judgment didn't.
Yeah, I haven't seen yet, and the reason I haven't seen it yet is because they're rolling it out like in December, and they're sending out various codes throughout the time. So I haven't got it yet. I don't know exactly. I just bought it I bought it on Xbox One. I remember the Play Anywhere being a thing, but then I got the email that said, hey, you know, by December you can download all the other Gears of Wars. So I don't know what they're trying to do in terms of Play Anywhere, but it doesn't matter. Do you know why? Because I've got Windows 10, I've got my Xbox One, it's on the same network. I can stream from my Xbox One right to my PC.
If they do this whole Play Anywhere thing, I might just buy the entire Gears of War series.
Yeah.
And I could just play on PC.
So you guys know about the Smart Glass app. You can run it through that and just play on your PC anyway, as long as they're on the same network. So they're doing a lot in that space, Microsoft is, but I don't know if Steam really has to worry about Microsoft. I think what Microsoft wants to make sure that people can play Xbox games and Xbox things on PC. That's it. I don't think they're trying to do anything like what Steam has or is doing in any way. So
well, I think they also know they wouldn't succeed if they tried.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll just smack of games for Windows Live, and that was a huge flop.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at the time though, Steam had a ton of cultural, you know, inertia in their favor. And I think that's starting to run out. People are starting to get a little bit pissed off at Steam here and there. The more you kind of hear the rumblings, in the dark corners of the internet, people aren't as rabid fanboys of Steam as they once were. They're starting to see the flaws, the problems with returning games, the lack of customer service. The way they lock your account for weeks at a time for little things, the trade thing you were mentioning. There's a lot of issues there that I mean, I've had to contact Steam twice for customer support, and it was a shit show. Whereas the one time I had to do it for Origin, they actually gave me a free game just because. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to be said about Steam kind of growing up with everybody else.
I just feel that Steam, like, it's become way too big for its britches, you could say. I mean, pardon the cliche there, but it's just like, for example, like you can like rent movies and television shows. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. Who the hell wants that? Nobody wants that with the PlayStation, PlayStation Store or the Xbox Live Marketplace or whatever it's called. Like,
they don't want
it separate. I think the shittiest thing that Steam did, like in the whole selling movies and TV. So they're selling episodes of RWBY, which is this web series on Steam, but the episodes are freely legally available on YouTube. Why would you fucking buy them on Steam? Like, if you want a hard copy, you buy the DVD or the Blu-ray or what have you. I don't think it even downloads the episodes locally to your hard drive. I think it actually streams them from the Steam app. So you're paying to stream from the Steam app when you could just stream them from YouTube for free. Why would you do this? Why would you sell this?
There's been a lot of questions, but I mean, I think Steam's never seen a dollar it didn't want. Honestly, I mean, they're a business, that makes sense. But they used to be something kind of this holy bastion of love and support, and if you went on a forum and said anything bad about Steam, people would cut your head off. But now it's kind of like people are like, yeah, the business side of Valve is showing. I think if they went a little bit more into making video games instead of running Steam all the time, some of that might go away. But
it's completely changed. Like, about 5 or 6 years ago, I got pretty big into PC gaming, and at that time, Valve's name was basically the name of an angel. They were, they were the guys that everybody loved, and it's been interesting to see in the past 5 years how far Valve has fallen in the reputation of the average gamer.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing now is people don't fault Blizzard for selling Blizzard games only through the Blizzard store and downloading it through the Blizzard launcher. EA has Origin. I think you're going to slowly see all these mainline companies. Ubisoft does a lot where if you buy it through the Uplay, they don't force you to buy it there, but if you do buy it through there, you get a lot of little add-ons and bonuses. And then Good Old Games, the guys who are making The Witcher and whatnot.
They launched what's it called?
Galaxy.
Yeah, I was confusing it with Green Man Gaming's, which is called Capsule.
So I mean, with Galaxy, DRM free, and the game's always right there. So I think the fragmenting's there on PC. Don't get me wrong; you could buy a game a million different places at this time. It's nice to have your Steam library there with everything right in one spot. But I've gotten to the point now where I'm comfortable having the Blizzard launcher, Ubisoft, Origin, and Steam on my computer, and Galaxy ready to run whatever I need. The problem is I always have to remember what game is where. Like I wanted to play.
I don't even remember that I own certain games because I don't fire up Origin that often.
Of course. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll fire up Origin and be like, when the hell did I buy that?
Somebody was talking about.
Yeah, I got it for free in some promotion.
It's like I have the. Sorry for interrupting there. It's like I have the whatever the Epic Games one is. There, like Epic Games is a launcher, and which came with like a free copy of the Shadow Complex, the PC port of that.
Right.
And I've been always wanting to play that. I just keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I have the launcher somewhere.
The other day I wanted to play Pirates, Sid Meier's Pirates. You guys remember that one, right? And I was like, I have to own this game somewhere. So like I started to go through like my list of everything. I was like, that's maybe a Good Old Games. It sounded like it might be there. No. Maybe it's on Steam. No. I own it through like some kind of like weird distro service that was around a long time ago. It was called like Greenleaf or something like that. I can't remember what Green Tree, something like Green Tree Gaming or whatever. No, not Green Man. I can't remember what it was called.
I
It was
wouldn't
like
know then.
it was like Wind Leaf or Wind Tree or something like that. But yeah, it was some weird like third party reseller. I had to like dig through my Yahoo like back to like 2005 emails to find out where I own it. Yep, sure enough, there it was. So, but yeah, I think that's a lot of becoming more and more of a common issue on PC is to try to remember where you own stuff, and it does make things like sales nice because everybody has sales all the time now. So finding the right sale at the right time makes it fun. But um, I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, but I think that PC is primed for a resurgence once this new console generation hits.
I'm just looking at my list of Steam games now, and I'm wondering when the hell did I get Euro Truck Simulator 2?
Oh, dude, the most fun thing I do on my Steam is I filter it by date purchased and or like last played, and I'll go through there and be like, oh my god, I played Half-Life 2 Deathmatch in 2007. You know, like, it makes you feel really old. Like I've never played Manhunt on PC, and there's all these games I haven't played or bought new in 2009, never played. Um, so that's I got Flora's Fruit Farm purchased 12/25 2009. Merry Christmas to me. Never never played it. So yeah,
I was gonna say actually, because I was gonna make a joke about, boy, they shouldn't have left episode 2 on such a massive cliffhanger. Half-Life 2 episode 2 just turned 9 years old.
Yeah.
It was
What the
released.
hell?
It was released October 10th, 2007.
It's going to be interesting to see what has the longer wait, that or Duke Nukem, which finally actually did get a release, but who knows with that. But
Let's see which one is better received at this stage.
yeah,
Oh.
Half-Life 2 I have purchased new 11/24/2007. So yeah, it says I never played it, but that's because Steam. I never played it in this version of Steam. I don't know if you guys remember the old green Steam. That was a piece of shit. Way
I
back in the
remember
day.
seeing it, but I never
Oh.
used it myself.
Horror Tales. I don't know how we got into Steam, but yeah, we'll see where consoles go. I just have a feeling that eventually everybody's going to be able to stream whatever they want, and as internet gets better, I think PC gets to be a better and better option.
Yeah, I mean, streaming is the other thing that consoles are doing this cycle, which they weren't doing before. I mean, you could do it by, connecting your console up to a streaming box or a PC and running the video and audio through there. But nowadays, consoles have integrated Twitch streaming, which is
Well, thanks.
kind of scary. I mean, you can stream the racial slurs directly from the Call of Duty map.
No, that was the early days of the Xbox camera.
Oh man, yeah, and the PlayStation
What?
Eye.
Sorry, what was the Xbox camera? I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
Well, but back in the original days of the Xbox Live Arcade, they had, you could play games like Uno with people, across the country, and this stuff came out of like Giant Bomb or something they would discuss. But apparently, people would smoke a lot of dope or take a lot of crack while playing Uno on Xbox Live Arcade. And it was just apparently this image of just it
There
just sounds
also
like
was,
an amazing image.
What was that game show?
Oh God, that was I know what you're talking about, and that's totally escaped me. That was
It was a game show.
It's actually awesome.
I can play Uno.
No.
No. But no, for a short while, they had a live situation where you could, you'd log online and you'd actually go into this game and answer these live questions of a live announcer and everything and win prizes. And
Jack?
no,
It was like an Xbox, it was like a Microsoft run thing. It was a game show. But yeah, you would log on and like they would ask trivia questions and you were like the host, or not like the host, but there was like an actual host and everything, and they would ask you trivia questions, and I think they gave away like Xbox points, whatever they were back then. This was a long time ago. They did it 100 versus 1 on Xbox One not too long ago.
That might have been what it was actually.
Yeah, it might have been the same thing.
Can you remember that?
Sorry, what game?
100 versus 1?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. There's something called 1 versus 100.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, 1 versus 100. Yeah, so Stoneheart was right. Seems like that might have been a big thing. Although I assume people weren't doing crack while playing that, or were they?
No, you couldn't see those people while you were playing that game. But
So it's not like people like snorting cocaine on Omegle or anything like that.
That was interesting, and then they also this was like way back in the early ish days of Xbox. Do you guys remember when like they would do the streaming live events from like their Microsoft trade shows and stuff? They would stream all that. A lot of stuff that they tried out just kind of all went away. Sony did the PlayStation Home. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yes.
So okay, what is PlayStation Home, and why did I try installing it on my PlayStation, and then why did it never install?
It was a place to create a beautiful house and then have people come in there and say racial slurs directly to you in your virtual houses.
So Second Life for console.
Yeah,
Essentially,
Second Life. Yeah. It was a nightmare. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced because there was a while when it first came out, like you would get notifications when people would like show up at your house, and it was like if you push the button, you would drop in your house, and it'd just be like someone sitting there, and they talk through the mic, and be like, "Oh, cool house."
Cool house, N-word, drop.
Yeah, exactly. Do like a shit emote on your carpet and then leave. So.
It was this weird like virtual like 3D world chat that Sony was like at least 10 years late to the party on. It was like this vision of an internet that had long passed, and it was just this weird concept that. I mean, there was the infamous bit where you could play arcade games, in the whatever room there was, but you'd have to stand behind other people in line as opposed to
and wait. Like even though it's logging into a server.
Wait in line in a virtual world.
I have no idea.
You could. I mean, it's a virtual world. I should be able to like step through other people.
It was some of the
Turn
dumbest
off
shit.
Jeez.
I couldn't even explain to you if I had to, but they've always tried to do stuff like, get you interested in, but it all goes away. I mean, people aren't gonna stick around and play that kind of shit forever.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words at this whole thing. It just seems so stupid.
Yeah, PlayStation Home was one of those things where like if you tried it once, I guarantee you would never try it again. It was just so bizarre.
So I'll be glad that installation never finished.
Yeah, no, you lucked out. I remember like they announced that they were getting rid of like PlayStation Home, and like that day that they announced it, more people logged into PlayStation Home than ever before because people were like, "What the hell is PlayStation Home?" So
what the hell is this thing they told me to download to my console?
I actually liked Life of PlayStation a lot more. That was another weird initiative they did, where it was combined
like
with
Life of Pi. Is there a tiger in a boat or something?
No, Life of PlayStation was a situation where they would show you this weird world globe thing, whatever, and they'd like give you news from across the world, and you'd have like light little music playing, and you'd also be part of the what's that program on the West Coast where you fold you're folding stuff using your computer to cure cancer or something.
Oh yeah.
It was essentially
I have no
kind of
idea what you're talking about. Sorry.
You contribute your computer's processing power or your console's processing power, and they network them all, and then they run like calculations on it.
Yeah.
It's called folding at home, like the at symbol.
Oh, that's what it is. Yes, folding at home is correct. Yes, and it's kind of like a weird backend for that, but it was just this weird like lifestyle app where you could like see the world and the weather and read some news, and I was like, who would leave their PlayStation on all day with that? It was just it's like it was a nice effort, but it closed down as well, and it's like, great, moving on.
You know who the king of all this is, though, and we're letting him get away scot-free, is all that shit that that Nintendo puts on the Wii and the 3DS, like, what is that, Mii Parade? Yeah, this little weird, like, that face shooter game and all this. I mean, it's cool and all, but man, what the hell, like...
I recall the Wii had the Everybody Votes channel, which was an example of that.
I remember the Everybody Votes channel. That was a really weird one. But yeah, so Nintendo's not above this stinky fray either.
Yeah, they've tried to become a little less ridiculous in recent years with the whole Treehouse initiative. I think that's worked out fairly well for them. But yeah, they're sometimes just as clueless as...
Miiverse is such a tire fire. Really...
I've heard Miiverse has its all like set of memes and what have you.
I have
it's kind of got its own culture now, but it is definitely not a place where you can go to actually have legit conversations about video games.
No.
Oh no.
It's just memes and shit.
I've always thought that, like, at least in Japan, that, like, 3DS and Wii and Wii U are, like, totally different things. Like, could you imagine how many Street Passes you get in Japan, where, like, every single person owns a 3DS, or, like all these games have these built-in Street Pass functions and all these other things. I imagine that it's a totally different system out there compared to here, where I get a Street Pass once every 8 months, you know, and there it's probably, like, you probably get 8 on your walk home from work.
I always loved when they were promoting the Super Street Fighter 4 3DS game, which was okay-ish, but the Street Pass feature was like you got these little like medallions or these little like things, and you know if you passed by someone else who also with the game, those things would like fight in like real time over Wi-Fi. And when you opened it up, like you'd win or lose, and like that's weird, and it only worked in Japan.
Yeah, that shit would never work anywhere. The only time I ever had the Street Pass shit work is when I went to PAX one year. I brought my DS with me, and it was just like, I think at the time I was playing, oh man, what was it? I want to say it was like Dungeon Quest or Kingdom Hearts or something like that, like some weird JRPG, and it had that function where like if you Street Pass people, you get access to their treasure chests that they've opened in the game, and I just had like 4 billion, like after just walking through there once.
Yeah,
Sorry, what were you saying, Stoneheart?
I was just gonna say the only time I've ever had a Street Pass really work was my senior year of college, around the time when around the time around the time Smash Bros came out for the 3DS, and around the time Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I found out that my at like someplace at the student union in my school, they were on weekend nights, Friday nights, there was this like Smash Bros club thing where a bunch of people would bring in like the game systems that had like Smash Bros games, and you know there'd just be like a dozen or so people playing Smash Bros. And I guess since those people also had like 3DSs, what I ended up doing would just be like head over there with like my 3DS on in sleep mode, and that would actually give me like 10 or so Street Passes, and it's probably since then I basically get nothing. So, but it was neat because it was like with Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, there's the whole secret base thing where you can just set up this little thing with little base area with and they're located like all over the game's map. And so when you Street Pass other people, you can have their bases pop up in the various parts of the map. So and in there you can also load up a team, so you could battle against the computer while they control someone else's team. And so
that sounds pretty cool.
I thought it was one of those things like this is a really good use for it. But like it's probably most effective in Japan.
Yeah, it feels like it's what you call it's what you call in like elementary economics. It's what you call a network effect, in that it's something that only works if a lot of other people are using it. Right? So it's like all these really cool ideas that you could implement that would be really neat are only ever going to work best if a whole bunch of people jump on board.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
It's kind of like what do they call that? The curse of the commons, where like if everybody uses it, everybody ruins it. Or if everybody uses it, at least people show up to use it.
Yeah, it's the tragedy of the commons. So it's like the opposite of tragedy of the commons.
Right.
You call it network externality.
Because I've always felt like whenever I've played one of these DS games and it's got all these cool features that are locked behind that, if Nintendo would really embrace the mobile space or the internet, well, why can't I go on the internet and
I did find and then a couple months after the fact, I did find out if you do with the Pokemon game, at least if you do connect to the internet, it'll automatically like exchange some of your data with like 30 other people. If it's called a game sync, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But however, that's I think that's only a limit. Like because now that they're coming out with a new generation of Pokemon, I think they're ending the game sync because that requires like maintenance and stuff. So they're ending the game sync feature for the for what's now the current gen.
Well, see, so
I think it was Black and White 2 or something that used the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which was before StreetPasses and such, and they just straight up just had to kill that feature because I think it was something to do with GameSpy, which then closed. And I know that Dragon Quest IX has the same problem where there's tons of bonus tablets and bonus maps and everything else that are just essentially coded into the game, but you can't get them without connection and sharing. And I guess unless I emulate it, I would never see that content anymore.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was like Nintendo had like GameSpy service for almost everything except for like the Wii Shop channel or something. So right now the only internet you can use on the Wii is the Wii Shop channel and I think Netflix.
Because here's something similar that goes on in Bravely Second. So Bravely Second, you can add people and like link souls with them or whatever, get their job abilities. There's all kinds of things to do, right?
Yeah.
You can get unlimited street passes, right? So if you walk by and somebody else has the Bravely Second data and you street pass, you get it unlimited. You can get 50 million in a day, doesn't matter. Whereas you can add friends via the internet, but the game artificially limits you to only adding one per day, which I don't, or maybe it's 1 or 5, but there's a limit to it if you add them over the internet, which I think is.
The first game is 1. Bravely Default is 1. Bravely Second is 5.
Yeah, so I mean, so you're having to go on, a forum and say, hey, who's playing Bravely Second, who's around my level, who can help me with this? So you add their friend code. Let's say, and you add 5 people. You can only add that 5 people. Let's say you had 15 people. You only get 5 at a time, which I don't understand why. Why don't you just let me add however many people I want? So it's little artificial things like that. It's not breaking the game, obviously, because if it works with Street Pass, it should work, period. But little things like that kind of make me question, why does Street Pass have to be so restrictive in a lot of these games when the internet does exist and you can download and send things from them?
I really do think that, and I think it's because they're jumping to mobile gaming. I really do think the NX is going to resolve this, or at least I hope it does.
I don't really even know what the NX is yet.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I actually do follow someone on Twitter that likes to just keep an eye on the NX Reddit, and those people are just like the diehard wool in the eye Nintendo fanboys.
How could you have a Reddit about something that how can you have a Reddit about something when you don't even know what it is?
That's the fun part. It's nothing but baseless speculation, and people saying, I was off for an hour. Anything new yet? Like just posts like that. It's so depressing and sad. And
Nintendo's always kind of had that thing though, right? Nintendo's always had those people who are beyond just fanboys and into like something else, like some kind of different world.
But
okay, so I'm looking at the thread titles on the Nintendo NX Reddit right now, and the thread titles going down are, if the NX isn't revealed by Megathread, VIRL, imagine peeling the plastic from your brand new Nintendo NX, my face when it sinks in that Nintendo has quality assurance and therefore it's someone's job at Nintendo to play the NX every day.
I'm sure.
Zelda Williams confirms she isn't announcing anything for Nintendo.
I forgot where it was, but there was one post in particular where I was reading off Twitter where the last sentence was like, I see you later, my fellow senpais. I'm like, oh my god, don't ever say that in real life, ever.
Why? I'm still stuck on. So why would Zelda Williams? I'm assuming is Robin Williams' daughter.
Yeah, I mean she was famously named after.
Yeah, but why would she be? Why would she be releasing anything with the Nintendo NX?
I don't fucking know.
Like last I heard, she was like a writer.
To people who are devoted to something that doesn't even exist yet. You think they can get that through their heads?
But in all seriousness, they're going to go back to the main point. I really do hope that with this new mobile initiative they've been pushing with these other companies and kind of like Pokemon Go and the such, that they actually have a real a real member system this coming gen, where I don't have to deal with StreetPasses or or numbers or just any of that crap. Just like, hey, I got a single profile. Let's do
They
it.
started the whole Nintendo account system, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo can only get better. Let's be honest, right? I mean, at this point,
Did they just port that to the NX though? Like, bring their online account system to the NX, and then it solves their problems, presumably.
Presumably, yeah.
I think they do that. Like it seems like they're going in that. It seems like they're going in that direction. It's just you can always kind of count on them to like shoot themselves in the foot sometimes. So
which makes me so sad.
It'll look perfect, and then as it comes out the door, they'll be like, we decided to not link anything to an account, and instead it's going to be linked by your me, and your friends are going to have to search and find you by your me depiction or whatever. Just something really weird.
It's like that Mario Maker 3DS that's going to come out. It's like, here's all the really cool things about it. Oh, by the way, we've basically cut most of the access to the Wii U levels.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's Nintendo, man.
Yeah, they always find a way to fuck themselves over.
It really does feel like that. I mean, I think at some point they're going to finally sit back and be like, okay, look, everybody's kind of figured out online, right? Like, Microsoft had the lead for a long time, and everybody's caught back up. But I think PlayStation right now is just fine. Everything works on the PlayStation Store, but it's such a different world whenever I log on to... I don't even have a Wii U. I have a Wii. Whenever I log on there, I'm like, oh my god, that's right. This is what this shit looks like on here.
I mean... PlayStation, I think, has a problem with speed. They're very, very slow. Their store takes forever to load anything.
Just don't get that at all, too. It's ridiculous.
But, I mean, the interface makes sense when you don't mind waiting 10 minutes to access it.
Well, PlayStation, the store I'm okay with. I've had a lot of problems just on PSN way back when I used to play Destiny all the time. NAT issues in group chat, like constantly. Never really understood that. People would be able to see me online. I wouldn't be able to see them. You would send someone a message and it wouldn't show up for 15 minutes, which, in Destiny is kind of a big deal because you're looking for groups and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say PSN is flawless. There's definitely issues, but whenever I...
At least the interface makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's all there to be found. It just it takes a while, so...
Yeah. So, I guess we had some interesting discussion about, where the console market and the PC market are currently at. Why don't we switch gears now and talk about something that I hope we all ate today, food. So today on the agenda for the podcast that I sent around to all the guests, I wrote down that we're going to talk about food and games. And in the agenda, I wrote down, honestly, I'm not sure how well this segment will work. But let's do it anyway. Let's talk about food and games. So last time we talked about animals in games, and we talked about hunting for the animals, and we talked about eating the animals. Food is a large portion of games. And it comes in many different forms. Sometimes food is something that boosts your stats temporarily or permanently. Sometimes it's stuff that just replenishes your health. In survival games, you need to eat the food to survive. Sometimes food's just a collectible. And you jump up to the food, you get it, you get points, it ups your score, it's all good. So there are a lot of different kinds of these foods out there. Do you guys think of any other ways in which people use food in games?
This is probably the craziest example I could think of. Was did any of you guys back Pillars of Eternity, the game? Recently released Pillars of Eternity game.
I didn't back it, but I've played it.
So if you backed it, one of the things that they sent you, along with the game itself, was a cookbook, and you could cook the different. It's an RPG, so there's various foods and stuff like that in the game. So you could cook the food from the game, and actually it's pretty awesome. There's like a meatloaf recipe that involves barbecue sauce and bacon and steel cut oats and things like that. And it's actually become my go-to meatloaf recipe. I think it's Tim. I think is his name. Tim. Look it up.
Tim Cook. Sorry, that was a
Make it work.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was I think he was the lead developer on it, and he came up with this cookbook, and it was some of the food in there is delicious. So whenever we're talking about food, I was gonna actually say I've actually cooked video game food, and it came out really good. It was some of the best food I've had, and I was actually, gonna mention that you can actually make real video game food if you're so inclined.
Tim
So how
Kaine, I believe, is his name.
so,
There
I'm
you
looking
go.
it up right now. Tim Kaine. Um, not vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine.
And
CIA
my
guy.
and my earlier joke was Tim Gunn, not
Mm,
Tim
yeah.
Gunn.
lots of
No, make
Tims
it
out there.
work. Project Runway.
Oh God. It's the Project Runway podcast now. Yeah. So what role does food play in the game itself in Pillars of Eternity?
So
Do you eat it to replenish stamina? Is it? I forget.
yeah, it's the classic RPG of if you cook certain foods like alchemy or anything else, you get the ingredients, you combine it, you put it together, and it gives you stat bonuses, health regen, those sorts of things. So what he tried to do, I think, um, in the cookbook is kind of mirror that with himself. I'm actually looking at the cookbook right now. And he says like as I tried to think about what these people would eat, like he tried to envision like each little region, like so how France has its own food, America has its own food. So he tried to say like this area is kind of like a sea people, they would probably eat more seafood, stuff like that. This area is kind of more the plains, they would eat something a little more hearty. He's got one that's like a rice bean and corn casserole. That's basically like a Mexican dish. It's really good. So yeah, there's some stuff in there. Let me read one to you. This is when I what's up?
I'm just gonna ask, like, how does the cookbook handle the drag? Well, isn't there like a dragon egg dish?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that one's in here, but one of them is pearlwood chicken, right? So it's tablespoon of olive oil, two boneless, skinless chicken breast halves, 2 ears of corn shucked, some Southwest seasoning, Greek yogurt, lime juice and zested, salt and pepper, preheat oven, brush the oil. It tells you exactly how to make it. And then he's got some flavor tests. It's like Pearlwood chicken is common among the settlers along the Pearl Coast in Defiance Bay, but its popularity has not spread far north or abroad. Locals claim that the dwarves of Talmere were responsible for inventing the dish. So it's like actually relates the food you cooked back to the game in like kind of a lore way.
Right. It's cool when the lore is really subtle like that.
Right.
When you travel to different parts of the world, people eat slightly different things, and it makes sense based on the geography. It shows that the developers have really thought hard about the world they're creating.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when I knew we were going to be talking about food. Like that's why this immediately jumped into my mind, was because it's something where they relate the food in the game back to real life for one, and then back into like the actual game world itself. Skyrim does that a lot too. Has a lot of like the different people enjoy the different types of foods and things like that. But
It really provides some flavor to the game if you're part of the pun. Sorry, just the really bad jokes.
It's a good one. I don't know. I wouldn't have said that. That was a good pun. Leave it in.
Yeah, we can cut all the bad jokes from this segment out.
Even the dead silence, yes. Even the dead silence and me laughing like an idiot, yes. So keep all of that.
Well, anyway, let me give you guys the recipe for this meatloaf, just in case you ever want to try it. So it's Duck's. I think it's supposed to be Duke's DUC owned beef loaf. It's a pound of ground beef, half a cup of onion, one large egg. You want to get that consistency. 8-ounce can of diced tomatoes, quarter cup of quick cooking oats, teaspoon and a half of
the
salt.
Oats mixed throughout the loaf.
Yeah, you like mix it all in like a bowl.
I thought like in a lot of breads they put oats on top as like decoration.
Yeah, no, it's mixed in there. It's actually really good. Salt and pepper and a cup of barbecue sauce, and I put the barbecue sauce on top as well when I cook it. And then so you mix it all in there. Not the sauce. You don't mix the sauce in there. I just hand mix it in like a giant bowl. Put it in there. Put the sauce on top of it, and the oats in there kind of cook inside the meat and give it a little texture. It's really tasty. The other thing I've done is put bacon on top of it. So if you ever want to make some Duke's own beef loaf, there's the recipe. I think he posted the PDF for free online somewhere if you want to try to download more. But really interesting idea as far as food and games go. Probably one of my favorite examples.
Yeah, it seems like they really went all out with it. Um, So it's interesting in that in Pillars of Eternity, not only does the food serve some sort of utility in terms of replenishing stats or upping stats, it also serves. It's also sort of appreciated for its own sake, right? It's this thing that is interesting in and of itself, and then adds some character to the game. Um, but that to me, it's somewhat of a rarity, right? Usually when you see food in games, it's very utilitarian, right? It's
Right.
something that you you eat for a purpose. Like I'm eating this food because I'm trying to survive, or I'm eating this food because I need to restore my health. Um, why do you guys think that is? That in video games we have video food is such a thing that we only care about its purpose, and that we don't really appreciate for its own sake.
Well, I think in many cases, I mean, it's oftentimes food is used in games as just kind of a an energy source, or or back in the day, like survival mechanics really weren't as key as today, obviously. So now there are like a lot of survival games where food and the usage and such are now absolute key. And then you have the really extreme dumb examples like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where you can eat hamburgers all day and CJ will be super, super fat.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
CJ.
yeah, oh, yeah, but oftentimes though, I think I go back to kind of stuff like the item creation systems in so many games. I mean, something as simplistic as say the second Paper Mario game, where you have this chef combine items, and they're just essentially item boosts in battle and such, and it's pretty simple. Or say Star Ocean: The Second Story, Star Ocean 2, where that game wasn't localized fully. It was that weird era of like Sony PS1 titles, and then it was actually published by Enix, I believe, so that made it extra weird. But that game just had the most Japanese food items you can make via the item creation system. So you learned a lot of things. Like, boy, did you ever want to make pot stickers? Well, there's pot stickers right there. Like, what the hell is a pot sticker? You'll soon find out by looking at the internet. I mean, they didn't really bother to localize anything when it came to those food items. So there was a lot of that as well. And those
I
were
feel
basically
like especially nowadays, it's something you wouldn't even need to localize because people are somewhat familiar. At least I guess the audience for that game would be somewhat familiar with the Japanese food items. Maybe back then it wasn't such a. It was something they should have localized, but nowadays I feel like they get away with it.
Yeah, that game was just weird, the localization. Also had some of the worst voice acting. But anyway, that's another situation.
A lot of games back then had really bad voice acting.
Oh dear, but I wanted to point out, I did post it in the chat there, but Final Fantasy 15 is jumping hard with the food porn by the sounds of it. I showed you a piece of toast, which is the most high res thing of toast I've ever seen in my goddamn life. But there appears to be some sort of like a cooking game, a cooking mini game of some sort, because I'm here on my other window here that I'm seeing this very tasty looking potluck stew, which apparently has a fresh stat and you're immune to something. And like, so I imagine there's like a cooking mini game in there. And I'm just looking at the photos here. I think these are from IGN or some other places. And then there's just photos of the team, the developers like being super serious about how to render this food so it looks proper. And I'm like, no wonder this game took 17 years to get released. I mean, what are you doing? It's just. But
I wouldn't exactly call that time well spent either. If we're going on the record, if they delayed it a year to get that toast texture right,
oh God,
I probably could have skipped that.
But the one thing I wanted to point out, and it's my first ability to mention this series on the podcast, or to mention it directly, the Suikoden food cooking battles. Especially Suikoden 2's cooking battles, which are basically glorified Iron Chef.
Wow, that's cool.
Because essentially, in each game, throughout your 108 stars of destiny, which you collect, you will find a chef, because you have a castle and the chef has to cook things, and you can even put the chef into battle, and he's not always the most effective, but damn it, he can go in battle if you want him to. That's the appeal of that series. I mean, like dogs and flying attack squirrels, and just every weird character could just suddenly be on the battlefield, and some are more effective than others. But but 2 has a pretty deep little cooking battle system where you have to gather ingredients by buying them or trading them and such, and then you have to like form these recipes and meals while you're in like an Iron Chef like setup, and the judges are actually your characters, your supporting characters, and they all have different little themes and things they like and things they hate, and it's delivered in the usual goofy style that Iron Chef was known for. So I thought that was an example of like what food and games really means, is something like that, where that's actually one of the more popular aspects of that series when it came to the mini games, was the cooking stuff for sure.
Yeah, it's one thing that you don't do that much in games is cooking, or it's in newer games. It's almost like this new form of crafting, right? You cook to craft new items, and there are very few games where you cook almost for its own sake, or cooking is the main mechanic. It's usually just this like crafting thing. Like even the new Zelda has cooking now.
Yeah, cooking's in so many games. It's the shortcut of what I would call alchemy. You remember how like alchemy was in every RPG for a long time? You know, find these ingredients, mix them up. Now they just call it all cooking.
It's all under the crafting menu, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say,
for sure.
I mean, if I'm talking about my favorites, I mean, I've got to talk about Fallout 4 because, well, just Fallout in general. I love how disgusting the food in Fallout always sounds, but then you're like, okay, that makes sense that they would probably eat, gecko steak or like a mole rat burger or Mirelurk cakes. You know, it's always
I've
got
heard
that.
like lizard is edible and tastes fine, but I've heard it smells disgusting when
Oh,
you
I
cook
believe it. Yeah, there's something about a lizard just. And yeah, so you've got like all the pre-war food that gives you radiation, or you've got all the disgusting, post-war stuff that you can make, like you can make like bloat fly, obviously giant irradiated flies. You can make bloat fly sliders, like little burgers, I guess, of giant flies. So I always love that like grossness to Fallout, and of course they have stats and affect the world and everything, but it kind of shows where where they can punch up a lot of the humor in that game. They do it in terms of the crazy shit they have you eat. Like
Yeah,
whenever
it's very dark, dry humor.
right, whenever
That
you
comes
eat
through.
whenever you eat strange meat in Fallout, you're definitely eating people. Like it's always like in like these like areas where you're like, yeah, it's kind of hinted at that these are all cannibals or whatever. And you always tend to find the strange meat around the cannibals. So yeah, you're definitely eating people, which I always thought was kind of funny. But yeah,
Yeah,
I love that about Fallout.
that was like a recipe for Creutzfeldt Jakob disease right there. Um,
I mean, you can become one. Hi, one of the perks in one perks you can pick up level up in the Fallout games I played at least is cannibal, where you just you gain health back by eating dead bodies. But people get a little bit angry at you if they see you do it.
I remember like Paladin Dance just saw me eat somebody and he just started shooting at me. Like he wasn't having any of it.
I just thought of something actually. The Saga games, which came here as the Final Fantasy Legends series for Game Boy, they had some really weird class systems, including the fact that you could eat like certain pieces of meat to transform into monsters and such. And there was a very definitely for the time, a very detailed system on how like, oh, you better not eat this piece of meat, or otherwise you're going to go like 7 levels down to this other monster who sucks. And just the fact that in that game was the creator's slipping my tongue, but he's known for some of the incredibly wacky stuff that's come out of Square in those days. I mean, I think he was responsible for Final Fantasy II, where I'm talking about
I can't remember his name, but yeah,
Kawazu. It's Kawazu, his last name, I believe. And where that was the game where you got your strength up if you attacked more, or your defense went up if you got hit. Meaning the best way to get stronger in that game was to essentially beat each other up.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, attacking each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Saga games had all sorts of weird systems like that, and like, oh, you can transform into a robot, or make sure you eat this particular type of meat, and you'll transform into this monster. And I think that's another example of food and games as well.
I think that might be one of the reasons it's been hard for me to connect with some of the more recent Final Fantasies. Is it is kind of missing that funny element to it in a lot of ways. There's a lot of goofy stuff in the early Final Fantasies, a lot of weird humor and stuff, and it seems like that's kind of gone away in a lot of ways.
Well, Lightning Returns is kind of batshit crazy in its own way, but that's because it's essentially being hovered by two games where the plot was just whatever.
I've heard Final Fantasy 13 was also very serious, whereas 15 seems to be going back to the kind of goofy humor, from what I can tell.
Bros on a road trip.
15 is bros on a road trip. Women. What are those? The one sit in the game is the lady with the unfortunate cleavage. It's just.
Fortunate for some people.
Well,
but I know what you mean for sure. It's a little questionable when your entire representation of women in that game is reduced to the eye candy.
Oh yes.
Especially have you seen the VR thing they were doing with Final Fantasy 15? It's just super creepy.
God.
Where you're sitting next to Sid and you're like, reach out and touch her. I'm like, no.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, this shit is not gonna fly since it's the United States. People will be like, what the fuck? How is this okay? It was that was pretty out there.
If you get your rocks off doing that, whatever. It's just maybe don't lead with trying to sell this.
Yeah. It was like an advertised feature. It was up front and center. They were not trying to put that in the background at all. So, they're quite proud of that.
Be ashamed of whatever they find titillating. It's just maybe this is not the feature you put up front.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of the poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, check this out. Look what you can do. Be a creep.
Yeah, don't insult me. It just boils down to that. But yeah, it seems like they're trying to get some of that humor back.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to get the humor back with, what is this, flame grilled toast that you sent us?
It's high def toast.
From what I gather, that seems to be the dummy prize, the failure prize, if you try to cook something. Because again, I've been looking at these photos and I'm really hungry right now because these are very well rendered, delightful looking meals.
Man, I wish if I screwed up cooking, it would turn into toast. That's not a bad gig right there.
Don't know if butter and peanut butter is involved there.
At least in say Persona 4, if you screwed up cooking, you wouldn't eat the food, you just use it as fish bait. This is how can you screw up cooking and get toast? It's not like if you burn your pasta, it's gonna turn into bread.
Star Ocean 2 item creation had a few goofy things like that, where if you tried to meld food together, it would just become a lump or something, and it was essentially inedible. You might have you might gain 1 hit point or something.
Do they call it an edible lump? Because
I think it's a useless lump or something. I'd have to look that up.
That's pretty funny.
I'm looking at some of this food now, and oh my god, they really spent a lot of time rendering this shit.
2 years alone just for the food.
If you look at a small thumbnail of it, it looks like real food. And of course, if you blow it up to the full size of your monitor, of course it looks rendered. But just as thumbnails, it looks like these are real dishes that I would want to eat.
I wonder if if you're going to put that much effort into it, why don't you just use photorealistic, because you're not going to pick it up, right? Do you interact with it, or does it just sit there on the ground?
I guess you can do that. From what I've been reading, you apparently cook during the camp sequences of the game, where you because again, you're on a bro-ish car trip.
Right.
I guess you got to eventually make camp.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm gonna guess that they don't animate the actual eating, because animating eating is difficult. You have to have one model essentially pick up another model and then put that model in its mouth and then swallow the other model.
Yeah, and then the model disappears. Yeah, so I that would not be something I would try to do in a game. Usually, it's just the cartoon thing where it just disappears as you force it into your mouth or whatever, right?
It's why you don't see a lot of eating in games.
Yeah.
And it's why, when Uncharted 4 had a sequence with eating in it, it was, pretty impressive.
The revolution we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, we've been waiting for Nathan Drake to put some spaghetti in his mouth.
Okay, so I am looking this up here. There are several failure items in Star Ocean 2. If you, for example, I see here, if you mess up meat, you can get a bad tasting stew, which is exactly what it's called, and it restores your magic points by 1%. Or let's see here, bitter juice is if you fail with fruit. But yeah, I thought.
So you fail at making fruit salad and you get frustrated, you just mash it up into juice.
Bitter juice sounds like a really bad band name, like emo or something.
Bitter juice sounds like an R&B act that Pitchfork would give a 9 out of 10 to.
They're really in touch with their soul.
Here you go. What I was talking about earlier. Shark pot stickers. Who the hell would know that in 1997 or 98 when that game got released?
Yeah.
Well, I know what a shark is, and I know what a pot sticker is. I just don't know in what amounts you add the shark to the pot sticker.
2 to 1.
2 to 1. 2 sharks for every piece of pot sticker.
Wilted salad is a vegetable failure.
See, this is why everybody needs to do the cookbook, right? I mean, I think the Pillars of Eternity guys are ahead of their time.
Yeah, so if they come up with a Final Fantasy 15 cookbook, I might actually buy Final Fantasy 15. I want to make that food, man. It looks good. Even the toast spray looks good.
It'd be a good idea, actually. It would be.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna copyright it real quick.
One of the examples I wanted to bring up that I played recently is Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold for the 3DS. Usually when you defeat in the earlier games when you defeated monsters, they drop various items, and you could sell them to the store and get equipment out of them. And then what the latest game added was sometimes those monsters will also drop specific ingredient items, and you give those ingredient items to the restaurant owner, and if you can find you find also in the dungeons you find recipes, and if you can in the recipes it's just a vague description a vague description of what the meal is made out of, and if you can figure
it sounds like a puzzle to solve.
Yeah, so if you can figure out what the correct ingredients are, then you can make a dish that gives you a small stat boost for an entire trip into the dungeon. I just
really neat.
It feels like real life to me. Yeah, it's like when I cook in real life. I don't know what goes in this.
And so when you develop the dishes in story mode, which has for the story mode and classic mode, where story mode has predetermined characters and with personalities and such. And so in story mode, the characters will sort of discuss the first time you make a dish, they'll discuss eating the dish and their reactions to it. And I thought that it's also reminds me of reading a George R. R. Martin book, in the sense that it makes me hungry. But I just loaded up the game now just to read the description of some of the dishes once you find out the correct ingredients. And so there's stuff first it's not a cookbook, but there's one dish that I got because I combined deer shoulder, scarlet yam, and root chili, and it's this curry rice that has in the description is the deer meat is stewed until tender, making this spicy dish flavorful. And it shows there's a little picture of the rice and deer meat, and it tells you that increase for one trip into the dungeon, it increases your entire party's max HP.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
sorry,
it is a neat touch.
I like it as a puzzle. That really makes it much more, because usually it's just you find it a recipe and then you go around gather ingredients and cook it, but that's usually don't have any kind of skill to it.
Yeah, and so there's a little bit of trial and error because of you have to when you get a recipe, you might not have fought the correct monster that drops the correct item for it, so it can be frustrating sometimes, but it's fun.
It becomes a quest almost.
Yeah.
Unto itself.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know how much you guys played like World of Warcraft or any of those other kind of MMOs, like when they have cooking as one of the crafting abilities, because a lot of times you'll find cooking ingredients and have no idea, and it's the other way around. Rather than getting the recipe and trying to find the materials, they give you the materials, and it's like, well, what the hell do I do with this boar meat? And eventually you find out, oh, I can make braised boar short ribs or whatever. So I like that way a lot better though, where like you have to actually like figure out how to make something. It's a pretty smart way to do it.
Yeah, more games should have riddles in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Um, one very different bit of fictional food that I wanted to mention was um, from Mass Effect, where the food is standard food that you would see in any other game. But one little nice bit of flavor that they added to it was that because different species have different biochemistry, specifically the amino acids and the proteins in their food have different what's called chirality. There's if you know any molecular biology, um,
Oh, of course.
yeah, if you know molecular biology, well, basically there are two ways of arranging things. They're called uh, they're labeled like left and right, like dextro and levo, I think, in terms of amino acids. So there's two ways of arranging the atoms in the molecule that are chemically similar but geometrically distinct. Anyway, we'll put it in the link dump so you can.
I've stumbled onto the wrong podcast. I'm thinking, guys, I gotta go.
Anyway, the point is, humans have one specific arrangement of atoms in their molecules, but the other could conceivably exist. So some aliens have the other arrangement, and humans and some species have the first arrangement, and so they can't eat each other's food. Yeah.
There's a lot of little stuff like that in Mass Effect as you get into like the little like the emails on the ship and like the power or the what do they call it, Shadow Broker emails and stuff. Yeah, I love all that little stuff that they put in there. Like there's if you can find this for the link dump, I think it's like an email about what's his name, Grunt, trying to look up dinosaurs. And he tries to look up like Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's like, but what's funny about it is it's like he's constantly spelling things wrong, and like getting mad at the computer for not giving him what he wants, because I guess he's trying to figure out, more about dinosaurs. Who knows what happened? Maybe, funny conversation on the ship, but it's a really smart thing they do where it's like it shows like his log from his computer, and it's like search for Tyrannosaurus Rex WREX.
I mean, the reason I bring up like that is one really smart thing that Mass Effect does. Like, it understands characters very well and then can make jokes off of it. It shows they really think about the world, and that's why I brought up the amino acid thing. Is that it's something that is in some ways chemically plausible. I mean, I'm not a biochemist by any means, but I stopped taking biology after my first year of college. Sorry, Stoneheart, what were you saying?
No, I thought I kind of my bachelor's degree is in biochemistry.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, did I get the chemistry very wrong? I'm sorry.
Oh well, no.
Yes.
You're correct with the chirality. I was just gonna say, all life on I'm 99.9% sure all life on Earth follows the amino acids of the level level amino acids because it's just it's conserved. And so that's just how that's just how things went down with evolution on Earth. Maybe someone else can explain it better.
Well, I mean,
it is plausible that the thing is like when it comes to like speculating about alien evolution, we are sort of like limited in we're sort of limited in thinking
by our understanding of biochemistry.
Yeah, by our understanding, but like. There's no reason why that we know of that like if
it just happened by random chance.
Like if they appeared in like dextro conformation, there's no reason we know that like it could have just gone on from there and like so it's not completely implausible that there would be aliens out there with dextro amino acids.
That's why I think it's a really neat thing that they put in the game, because the detail that makes sense if you know biochemistry, which I haven't studied in like 8 years. So
All the life forms aren't carbon based, right? In Mass Effect, like I don't think.
I believe they actually are all carbon based. I don't think there are any
Yeah, and it's like carbon based is one of the things, like, because one of the main reasons is because it like carbon can bond with itself 4 times. There's other elements that can do with it, but that can do that, like silicon.
But, yeah, basically anything going down that column of the periodic table.
The chemical properties of silicon is much different, and so the reaction, the speed that reactions occur with carbon is faster than like a similar type. I'm walking out on like a weaker branch of my knowledge here, but I definitely read somewhere like why silicon-based life wouldn't work.
I mean, silicon is also, was it semi-solid at room temperature? I don't know.
It's also just
it has weird properties that carbon doesn't have. Carbon's nice. It got the 4 free electrons. It can do what it wants. That is the extent of chemistry that I remember.
Can it make beef loaf? Because it can't make beef loaf.
I mean, your beef loaf is mostly carbon and
That's
water, so it's probably mostly oxygen and hydrogen actually. But yeah, it's probably got a fair bit of carbon in there.
Good.
I mean, that's like what all life is made out of. It's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, a little nitrogen and phosphorus and sulfur here and there. But yeah, mainly carbon. That's what we are. So that was a nice just digression about biochemistry. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys about is we've talked a lot about games where food or cooking are sort of auxiliary parts of the game. Have any of you guys ever played like a restaurant or cooking simulator?
I haven't, though. I guess I've been interested. I mean, I've owned a game like Cook Serve Delicious for a while now, and apparently that's just a really fantastic game in that genre.
What platform is it for?
It's PC, I believe.
Oh, let me see if I can find it on Steam. Cook Serve Delicious. I've heard of this, and it's like, is it one of those games where you're sort of running around from different stations trying to prepare lots of food quickly?
Kind of,
try not
sort
to
of,
let the
yeah.
food.
The only thing I could think of was Cooking Mama when you asked that question.
Oh yes.
I've heard of Cooking Mama. Is that also
pretty fun? No, I think it was DS and maybe Wii.
Right. Yeah, I believe it started on DS, and there was definitely a Wii version because, of course, there was.
Yeah. How to get it out there? Well, it was selling like hotcakes, I guess, because.
Oh God.
Sound like hotcakes? Is that another pun?
I'm leaving it. I'm not saying.
Yeah,
I love my fun.
No, I'm for it. Let's go ahead.
But yeah, Cooking Mama was like, it was like one of those like Wario games where, flip the pan, pick this up, do this, one of those types of party games that were popular around that period. And it didn't really teach you how to cook at all.
I mean, I kind of like that approach. I've heard restaurant kitchens are really hectic. Mm-hmm. It seems like this is a good enough simulation of that, where you make a hectic WarioWare style mini game where the speed of cooking just speeds up and speeds up and speeds up, and you have more and more to prepare at the same time.
Gordon Ramsay comes in and yells at you.
Yeah,
I'm sure there was a Gordon Ramsay game.
Family-friendly Nintendo game.
I'm sure there was a Gordon Ramsay game for Wii somewhere. Boy, they had every licensed piece of crap on that system in some capacity.
Carnival Game 17, more skee ball than you'll ever want to play.
Oh my. Let's see here.
There is a Hell's Kitchen game for the Nintendo Wii.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
You can buy it for $29.99.
Shit, are you kidding me?
Wow, that's bull.
Yeah, I'll go to GameStop. They'll have it for $2 in that weird back corner where they keep the Wii games. It's like you go to buy drugs.
Buy Iron Chef America for half the price, also for the Nintendo Wii.
You know what the most recent game I played for Wii was? And this was probably the only good, what I would say was the only good Wii game. Did you guys ever hear of Deadly Creatures?
I don't think so.
You play, there's Billy Bob Thornton is the voice in it, and you play as either a scorpion or a spider. And it is one of the weirdest games ever. It has nothing to do with cooking, but we were talking about playing Wii. If you guys ever see that one for sale, buy it, because
also the Mario Galaxy games were on Wii, so your opinion is invalid.
Oh yeah, well.
Oh wow, we're starting a Wii fight here.
Oh,
Um,
I'm just gonna stay out of it because I have a lot of Wii games I like. So
Yeah,
Is Deadly Creatures one of them?
no.
Oh,
I did hear of that game. It was weird by the sounds of it.
oh, yeah. There's like a movie plot to it, like a really really deep plot, like a revenge murder thing going on. But you're a scorpion, so I don't really know why you care about that.
it's not even it's not even like you're the scorpion whose family was killed by the evil snake. The snake. No, it's like there's some real life human drama, and you're just a
Yeah.
scorpion running around trying to preserve it.
Yes, it's a weird game. I want to say it was. Let me see. What's the studio that went out of business?
It was made by THQ.
THQ,
or
that's
published
it.
by
Yeah.
THQ, developed by Rainbow Studios.
Yeah,
But
so here's the story. Two humans, George Struggs and Wade, are looking for a location in the Sonoran Desert where they believe gold has been buried. The story is from the point of view of both a tarantula and a scorpion, with both creatures often seeing the same thing but from a different perspective, both also being stalked by a rattlesnake that the tarantula battles in the first level, as well as continuously fighting with each other. And it's like these guys are like, there's like this tale of like gold and backstabbing and revenge while you're walking around as a spider, doing absolutely nothing with the plot at all. But
fuck is this?
I'm serious. It's a good game. I like it, but it's weird. I don't know if I've ever played another game like it either.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, I don't mean to sound frustrated because actually, it actually does sound really interesting. It's so bizarre. I don't even know how to react to it.
I'm glad to bring it into your world.
Yeah, I'm actually intrigued now. I might watch a Let's Play of this. So yeah, that's
That'd be food. I guess you could eat scorpions and tarantulas.
that is food. Scorpions and tarantulas are food for, I guess, the snake. That's another thing in games that we could talk about is sometimes you get eaten.
Yeah.
You're not the one doing the eating. Sometimes you get eaten in a video game. Sharks, other animals, they'll eat you. Dinosaurs, you play that. I think, did we talk about this a couple of weeks ago or last time we talked about the Telltale Jurassic
Park, yeah.
Yeah, you get eaten by a dinosaur in that game. There's some dinosaur food.
You get eaten by a lot of dinosaurs a lot of times in that game until you get frustrated with the entire mechanics of Telltale.
I heard it was a pretty shitty game.
Oh man, you heard correct. That was one of the most frustrating games I've ever actually played. But yeah, you do end up dinosaur food a lot of times.
Yeah.
QTEs, what a great idea.
Yeah, and a game built around QTEs. I mean, like, it's not like the occasional thing. And then, you know how in a Telltale game, if you script the QTE, it's not like, okay, well, now I've got to redo my combo or whatever. No, it's game over. You go right back to the loading screen, which takes forever for some reason, even though it's, a game my phone could run. Yeah, lots of bad memories on that one.
Yeah, Telltale really hasn't done well in terms of optimizing their games, and they've been using this old ass engine forever. They finally debuted the new engine for their Telltale Batman game, and it worked decently well on console, but on PC apparently it was a disaster.
So weird to me. I mean, you would think that, whatever. Telltale used to be just primarily PC, right? And then they kind of got into the
I mean,
even before the Sam and Max games, they were just making these like weird like CSI stuff or all sorts of other just licensed stuff.
Yeah, they had that weird little moment in the sun, and then I think they spread themselves really thin. I don't know if I played a more boring game than that Game of Thrones Telltale game. And I played that shitty RPG for Game of Thrones. I love that, but man, I could barely finish that game.
I mean, I kind of want Telltale to go back to their old style of game. Like, I want another Telltale Monkey Island game.
Yeah.
That was a good game.
Yeah, the Back to the Future one was fun.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Park one was not fun.
Go back to putting puzzles in there. You can still have the storytelling.
Yeah.
That's great. That was something they've learned to do very well with The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us. But put the puzzles back in. I want to solve some puzzles.
I think the mistake they're making or what they're missing about it is if you're going to have morality or if you're going to have decisions that actually matter, they have to actually matter. People are going to catch on to it, and it doesn't matter if Clementine's going to remember what I said if by the end of the game it doesn't matter, what I said because it doesn't matter. So it's a really weird thing to kind of get wrapped up into, and you keep telling people their choices matter, but then they realize really quickly it doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like they can't really make them matter if they want to make multiple seasons
Yeah.
of the game. So you have to carry over all those choices from game to game.
Well, Dragon Age can do
Especially,
it, and Dragon Age is 10 times more complicated as a game, So I mean, I think they just need to put the effort into it.
yeah,
Um,
I
I,
think
I, I don't think they're willing.
so. For example, Dragon Age, and it's useful to contrast this with BioWare because, for example, Mass Effect had the clearly defined trilogy, so they knew exactly how many decisions they'd have to carry over to each next installment. Dragon Age completely changes the setting and the characters each time,
Right.
and it's only carrying over broad political decisions that don't need to play out anywhere but the background.
Mm.
So it's in some sense easier for them to carry over a large number of subtle political decisions from game to game. Um, Telltale has given themselves a higher level of difficulty, but I wonder why don't they just have franchises that are done after one or two seasons? Why? Who's clamoring for a third season of The Walking Dead?
Exactly. Especially when none of the characters are even really carrying over, except for some of the very minor characters you really don't care much about. So.
I mean, Clementine's carrying over, and
Yeah,
trust me,
I
I
guess.
love Clementine. It's
But
actually
see,
probably a good thing because I hated every character in season 2 who wasn't Clementine.
I just feel like
Um,
with Clementine, the story is more about what happens to her than her. At least up until about halfway through the second season. So I mean,
oh, definitely the second season had. I mean, I could go on and on about all the missteps in the second season, but I think that's the biggest one. That they really made the game more about how Clementine reacts to the world around her rather than how um, Clementine exists and works within that world. It was all about
yeah.
Clementine reacting.
Right, and,
And
and and the thing about that being is that you're supposedly in the first game you're supposedly teaching her all this stuff and showing her all this stuff, but it doesn't matter. No, So I don't know. That's my whole Telltale hang up.
yeah, I mean, they still I think they still have a knack for storytelling
Mm.
that
Oh, the
that,
writing's the best part of the games. I mean,
that I
especially
don't
when you
think
talk
is
about like
yeah.
Wolf Among Us, that has great writing in it, but the gameplay is not where it needs to be. It's not evolving. It's just kind of staying the same, and I think that's what I
I
get
think
frustrated by.
and don't get me wrong, I love The Wolf Among Us, but it's bizarre that it had as little puzzle solving as it did,
Yeah,
considering it is a detective game.
yeah.
I really think they could bring that back.
Tons of it
And
is just walk here, click on the one thing that you can click on, and then leave. There's a couple weird like if you don't do things in this certain order, you don't see certain things. But to me, that's not being a detective or solving a puzzle. That's just reading a walkthrough or getting lucky. Depending on how you
yeah,
ended up there.
I think it's something they really need to get back to doing. I haven't felt like a detective in a game since this is going to sound really weird. The fourth episode of Life is Strange, which actually had some what I consider legitimate detective work in a game, where you had to basically you had a whole bunch of clues, some of which were extraneous, some of which were relevant. You had to piece the relevant clues together into a timeline that made sense.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that feels like actual detective work. I don't know if it's what actual detectives actually do, but it feels like some reasonable facsimile of detective work. And I haven't felt that in a game in forever. And I wish that more games would try to make you feel like you're doing actual detective work.
Well, one of the things I complained about for a while, and I know everybody loves this game, but I think Witcher 3 was a really terrible example of that. Um, Not that you're actually, a detective per se, but you're hunting down, trying to figure out monsters, which monsters behind this, evil act, and blah blah blah. But it really just ended up go to this circle, hold this button, and then look for anything that's red. And I think that's an example kind of what you're getting at. That like you can be a detective a lot of ways. You can hear the right thing or see something or notice something, but I feel like with a lot of the games now, they want to do Batman's detective mode. They just want to say, okay, now you're a detective when you push this button and go figure all this out. But it
I
feels
mean,
really cheap.
that's the real irony, is it? And PT will have something to say about this, I'm sure, is that the Batman games, with their detective mode, has some of the least actual detective work
Yeah.
of any game.
Yes, yes. I'm still it's still scarred in my brain, that terrible one in Arkham Knight where you have to basically crawl on the ground and look at the fingerprints of this guy as you're going down the stair. It's in the Zeppelin. If you remember that.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the car crash one, which is also really bad and made no sense.
Yeah, that's also terrible. But no, the Zeppelin one had where you had to like piece together 4 different parts where the guy like placed his hand on a thing, and to create an entire. I must create an entire, handprint of this guy to make sure that he's. It's like, what?
Yeah, aren't you the world's greatest detective? Like.
Arkham Origins, for being sort of the redheaded stepchild of the series, was the only one with actual detective work in it.
I remember the one where
you, like, they showed you a crime scene and you have to figure out what happened at the crime scene. And sure, it sort of walked you through it, but it walked you through it in a logical way that made it look like Batman was actually trying to solve a crime. Whereas in Arkham Knight, it's just like, I'm going to make this holographic reconstruction of a crime scene. Or
I'm going to smell this trail.
Yeah.
The worst one, actually, the worst stuff was like the weird glory killing side quest in Arkham Knight, where you'd go down and you'd see someone tied up and dead, and you'd scan like their 3 layers of their body to make sure.
It's just a fucking pixel hunt. That's what it is.
It's
a hidden object game at that point.
It's not only that, but then Batman apparently has the most in-depth database in the universe, where it's like, okay, track all these names down of all these people who happen to have pacemakers. Okay, we found the guy. It's like, what? It's just.
Yeah.
Thank God you can figure that out in 15 seconds.
They'd solve every crime in like 10 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, Batman is a great example of what you're talking about, where they take the laziest possible way to being a detective. Witcher does it, like I was saying, but Batman is definitely the worst, especially when you're going to put a mode in it. And also, I was thinking about this, like, so let's say you're the guy who, like, did the visual, area on some area, and then you realize the only way people are going to experience that area in the game is by running through there in detective mode. You might as well not put anything on the wall, because you play half the game in, like, that weird X-ray mode, right? I mean, so who cares what's on the walls or what's, it's a very dumb way to play a video game. It makes it less interactive, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I generally don't turn on detective mode when I'm playing. I only turn it on when I use it. But I've heard of people going through like the entire game in detective mode. I'm just like, well, you're not going to appreciate the art design if you see everything in blue and green and orange.
Yeah, wireframe.
Yeah.
Batman lives in blue tinge world.
Apparently.
Batman lives in like a dark gray black world. With no parents.
As brooding as possible.
Yeah.
It's funny that the best Batman of our generation might be the Lego Batman. I have a feeling that movie is going to be amazing, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
I just want bringing back the old campy Adam West Batman. I want the Biffs and the Zoots and the Bops.
Nolan ruined that for all of us. Sorry.
That's sort of the new Kamen Rider in a way. He's a video game doctor, which is weird enough as it is. But when he attacks monsters, they like actually have like graphics to say hit, and perfect, and it's the dorkiest thing, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna finish it. But I mean, boy, that's what
there are all these comic book games nowadays, right? Mm. Make them comic booky.
Yeah.
Just run with it. And Batman just seems to be like the Batman Arkham games seem so committed to their dour tone that they could be having Batman's supposed to be fun. You could be having fun with Batman.
See, Batman has to be fun because if you go too far with Batman, he becomes the Punisher. Do you know what I mean? Like he if you go too dark with him, well then he's just. Why is he locking these people up? If they're these evil guys killing all these people and doing all this insane stuff, it doesn't make sense that he's like, okay, sorry that you killed 1,000 people. Now you're going to go into this bad guy Arkham Asylum and you'll never break out of here. You got to have a little bit of not lightness to it, but a little bit that keeps it from being super heavy.
One of the things I did sort of enjoy about Arkham Knight, now that you think about it, is how that giant cell block of criminals and people that were just all categorized like as you complete, it was essentially your way of saying, okay, I'm almost at 100% when you see like all these criminals like categorized as, Riddler informant and, Arkham Knight helpers. And then when you walk down the cell block and they're saying, Arkham Knight's gonna get you, Batman. And it just it would constantly grow throughout the game when you completed the side quest, and I thought that was actually kind of a neat touch.
Yeah, there were a lot of neat touches in that game, and unfortunately, I don't think they really stuck the landing on it. But
No.
I can see like there's so much love and care poured into that game. It's just poured in all the wrong places, unfortunately.
Right.
Into the car.
Oh god.
Why did they make that fucking car, man?
I don't know. I mean, they were saying, they used the word iconic about a million times, but honestly, the
that word in
Batmobile
gaming has lost all meaning.
Oh yeah.
Okay? If Aiden fucking Pierce's baseball cap is iconic, then like anything is iconic.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm the wrong generation or something, but the Batmobile to me was like how he got around in the Batman movies I watched. It wasn't like until the Nolan movies came along. I don't really remember the Batmobile being much other than a mode of transportation. I definitely don't remember it being like what Batman was all about. It's not like it's some gearhead show, where he super tunes the car for two episodes or something.
I think there would be let me tell you, there'd be a big audience for people who would watch like a shirtless Batman like detail in his car for
just like change out cam heads.
When he still had his mask on.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm gonna
Still
get so much more mile per gallon with this.
And he'd be wearing like the tight Batman tights, so he'd be like hugging his butt perfectly, and then he'd be all greased up. I think some people would be really into that.
He's talking about how many horsepower he's gaining by making some kind of like switch on his car.
Yeah, like he says it in like a sexy voice, but it's not even innuendo. It's like, I'm giving this engine a tune-up, eh?
That would be perfect anime like filler, like how okay, we got to recap the story. What should Batman be doing this time? Let's have him just tweak his car for 2 episodes.
Batman anime.
On the next Batman, he's like goes to AutoZone for the whole episode.
And I remember the story like as it happened, and it's you sneak in like a recap of like the previous 15 episodes or whatever as he's buying parts at AutoZone.
Wait, clip show. It's really cheap. So I think this has been a fun discussion of food and Batman, apparently.
Food and Batman.
Food and Batman.
Talked about Steam for some reason too. I don't know. We've been all over the place.
We've been all over the map too. I mean, I think I like when we go all over the map. It shows that it shows the breadth of our knowledge, and our knowledge is vast.
We're not going to be tied down by some kind of.
I just need to restudy my biochemistry.
Yeah, if we're gonna want an in-depth breakdown next week about Mass Effect characters.
We gave an economics and biochemistry lesson today. I think this is the most educational gaming podcast on the web. In all seriousness, though, thank you all for being on the podcast today.
Awesome as usual, man.
Of course.
Yeah. This has been a fun one. And to all our listeners, if you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on Tumblr at avocadogamescast.tumblr.com. That's right. We actually have a website.
Man.
And there we post each episode along with a link dump that fact checks all the dumb shit we say during the episode. So in case we say something wrong, and we inevitably do say something wrong, you can laugh at us and look at the corrections. So yeah, thank you all for being here tonight.
No problem, man.
All right. Well, good night, everyone.
Take care.
Good night.